Have you ever listened to the sound of a room where everything important remains unsaid? It is not empty. It is heavy, thick with the weight of unspoken truths, deferred dreams, and silent screams. This is the sound of so much of our world, and perhaps the sound of your own heart. We live surrounded by noise, a constant barrage of information, opinions, and demands, yet within us, a profound and deafening silence grows. It is the silence of the self that has learned to be agreeable, to be convenient, to fit in. We become actors in our own lives, speaking lines written by others, performing a role we never auditioned for, and we wonder why we are so tired. The exhaustion you feel is not from doing too much, but from carrying too much of what has been left unspoken. It is the weight of the no you swallowed, the I love you that never left your lips, the this isn't right that died in your throat, the I need help you deemed a weakness. Each unspoken truth becomes a ghost, haunting the quiet hallways of your mind, stealing your energy, dimming your light. But what if this silence was not an end, but a beginning? What if it was not a void to be feared, but a space to be entered? This journey we are about to take is not an escape. It is a pilgrimage inward. We will not try to shout over the noise of the world. Instead, we will step into that sacred, heavy silence within you. We will walk through it, listen to it, and honor what we find there. For hidden within its depths is another sound, a vibration you have almost forgotten. It is the sound of your authentic self, the voice that heals, the voice that creates, the voice that is and has always been you. Let us begin this work of listening, so that you may finally begin the work of speaking your soul back to life. We step now out of the noise of the world and into the landscape of your silence. Be still for a moment. What do you hear in this inner world? For most of us, it is not the peaceful void we might imagine. It is a cavern, a vast, intricate echo chamber. Your silence is not empty, it is full. It is saturated with the sounds of a lifetime, playing on a loop. Listen closely. That is not your voice telling you that you are not enough. It is the echo of a teacher's careless remark from 30 years ago. That is not your fear of failure. It is the echoing slam of a door from a business that did not succeed. That feeling of impending abandonment is not a premonition. It is the lingering phantom echo of a love that left. These are the ghosts that populate your quiet moments. They are not memories, which are static and can be visited. They are echoes, active and alive, bouncing off the walls of your consciousness, recreating their original impact with every rebound. Each echo has its own texture, its own frequency. Some are loud and sharp, crashing into you when you are at your most vulnerable. Others are a low, constant hum beneath the surface of your daily life, a subtle poison that drains your energy and colors your perception of the world. We have grown so accustomed to this inner cacophony that we mistake it for our own identity. We believe the echoes are our thoughts, that the chamber is our home. There is a strange and seductive comfort in this familiar pain. You know the script. You know every word of the argument, every beat of the heartbreak, every nuance of the humiliation. Replaying these echoes, as painful as it is, feels safer than the terrifying unknown of a true, quiet mind. To step out of the echo chamber is to let go of the stories that have defined you. Who would you be without your signature tragedy, without your familiar anxiety, without the well-worn narrative of your victimhood? This is the central conflict you face in the stillness. The soul craves the expansive peace of a clear sky, but the ego clings to the dramatic weather of its own making. It would rather rule over a chaotic kingdom of echoes than be a humble citizen in a republic of peace. Leaving the chamber feels like a death, because in a way, it is. It is the death of the person you thought you had to be. So what is the first step on this path of reclamation? It is not to fight. Do not try to shout down the echoes, for you will only make them louder. Do not try to seal the cavern, for you will only trap yourself inside with the noise. The first, most courageous act is simply to listen, not as a victim, but as a witness, not as a participant, but as a neutral observer. This is the practice of intentional listening. For just 5 minutes a day, find a space where you can be undisturbed. Sit, close your eyes, and allow the echoes to arise. Your only task is to not engage with them. Your only job is to notice them. When the echo of shame appears, you do not wrap yourself in it. You simply label it, gently, in your mind. Ah, this is shame. You watch it as you would watch a dark cloud drift across the sky. You are the sky, vast and unchanging. You are not the cloud. When the echo of anger surges, you do not act on it. You do not justify it. You observe it. There is the feeling of anger. You feel its heat, its vibration, and you let it pass without being consumed by its fire. This practice will feel unnatural at first. The echoes are masters of seduction. They will scream for your attention. They will whisper justifications. They will try to pull you back into the old story. Your mind will want to analyze, to fix, to understand. Resist this urge. The time for understanding will come, but it cannot happen while you are caught in the storm. For now, your task is only to witness. Be the scientist observing a phenomenon, not the subject experiencing it. This simple act of detached observation is a revolutionary one. It begins to cut the energetic cords that tie you to these old sounds. By witnessing an echo without judgment, you stop feeding it your energy. You are giving the original wound the one thing it never received: a calm, compassionate presence. You are, in effect, reparenting the parts of you that were hurt, shamed, or abandoned. You are becoming the safe harbor you always needed. Think of your consciousness as a great mirror, covered in the dust and grime of 1,000 painful moments. The echoes are the distorted, frightening images that appear in this dusty mirror. You have spent your life reacting to these distorted images, believing they were a true reflection of you. The practice of intentional listening is the act of gently, patiently wiping the dust from the mirror. With each moment of quiet observation, a little more dust is cleared. The echoes, which are nothing but old light trapped in the grime, begin to lose their power. They become fainter, less defined. And as the mirror becomes cleaner, you might, for the first time, catch a fleeting glimpse of what lies beneath, a flicker of your true reflection. An image not defined by past hurts, but by a luminous, inherent wholeness. This is a slow process. It requires the patience of a geologist studying stone, the dedication of a monk at prayer. There is no destination, only the practice itself. But with every session of listening, you reclaim a small piece of your inner territory. You expand the space of quiet within you. The echoes may never disappear entirely. They are part of the landscape of your history, but they no longer need to be the ruling kings of your inner kingdom. They can become faint sounds in the distance, reminders of journeys taken and lessons learned, rather than the deafening soundtrack of your present moment. They become part of your story, but they are no longer the entire story. You are learning that you are the space in which the echoes happen. You are the silence that holds the sound. And as you sit in this growing silence, listening to the fading resonance of what was, a new question will inevitably surface. It is a quiet question, but a profound one. Why did I build these walls in the first place? What was I trying to protect myself from when I first created this chamber? This inquiry leads us away from the echoes themselves and toward the very architecture of our suffering. It leads us to the discovery of our silence, not as a prison, but as a form of armor, a shield we once believed we needed to survive. Having walked through the resonant chambers of your inner world and listened to its echoes, a deeper question now arises from the quiet. You have identified the sounds of old pains, but now you must look at the structure that contains them. Why was this chamber built? The answer is both simple and profound. It was built for protection. Your silence is not a void. It is a fortress. Your not speaking is a suit of armor. meticulously crafted, piece by piece, over the course of your life. It was not forged in malice, but in perceived necessity. It is a survival mechanism that has long outlived its usefulness and has now become a cage. Recall the moments it was built. A plate was hammered into place over your heart the first time your vulnerability was met with ridicule. A heavy helmet was lowered over your head when your honest opinion was dismissed or punished. The gauntlets were locked when reaching out for help resulted in you feeling like a burden. Each conflict avoided, each difficult truth swallowed, each desire suppressed was another rivet, another strap, another layer of steel. You built this fortress not to imprison yourself, but to protect a soft and sacred part of you from a world that felt harsh and judgmental. You donned this armor to appear strong, to be less trouble, to navigate the complexities of human relationships without getting bruised. And, for a time, it worked. The armor kept you safe. You became the stoic one, the calm one, the person who could handle anything without complaint. People may have even praised you for it, validating your role as the silent pillar of strength. This praise became another lock on the armor, reinforcing the belief that your value lay in your ability to endure quietly. This is the seductive lie of the armor. It promises invulnerability. Think of a turtle, safe and secure within its heavy shell. It is protected from direct attack, but its vision is forever limited by the small opening it peers through. Its movement is slow and deliberate, burdened by the weight of its own defense. It can pull its head and limbs inside to wait out a storm, but it can never truly run or dance or fly. This has been your strategy. You have carried the immense weight of your own protection everywhere you go. You have learned to see the world through a narrow slit, filtering everything through the lens of potential threat. You have chosen the predictable safety of the shell over the boundless freedom of the open sky. The internal conflict this creates is immense and exhausting. There is a part of you, the essential you, that yearns to be known, to be seen, to connect authentically. This is the soul, the life force, that wants to express its truth, to share its light, to feel the sun on its skin. But there is another part, the armored ego, whose primary directive is to avoid pain at all costs. This part equates silence with safety and expression with danger. It whispers to you, "Don't say that, you'll start a fight. Don't ask for that, they'll think you're needy. Don't show you're upset, they'll see you as weak." And so a silent war rages within you, the desire to live fully versus the need to remain unharmed. The tragedy is that the armor no longer serves its purpose. The safety it provides is an illusion. This is the core truth you must now face. The armor that was meant to protect you has rusted shut. It no longer keeps pain out, it simply locks it in. The conflict you avoid with others becomes a tumor of resentment growing in your gut. The judgment you fear from the world is nothing compared to the incessant, merciless critic that lives inside your helmet with you. The love, joy, and connection you wish to experience cannot penetrate the steel. You are starving inside your own fortress, suffocating from a lack of fresh air, a lack of genuine human contact. You are not safe. You are in solitary confinement. The price for this illusion of safety has been your own vitality, your spontaneity, your authentic self. The armor is no longer a shield, it is a sarcophagus. So, what do? We do not try to rip it off in one violent motion. The self within is too tender, too accustomed to the dark. To expose it so suddenly would be a shock to the system. The first step is gentle. It is an act of quiet acknowledgement and inquiry. Find a moment of stillness and bring your awareness to this feeling of being armored. Feel its weight on your shoulders, its constriction around your chest, its coldness against your skin. And then ask it questions as if it were a separate being. In the quiet of your mind, ask, "What are you protecting me from?" Don't search for an answer, just listen. An image may arise, a memory, a feeling. Acknowledge it with gratitude. "Thank you for trying to keep me safe from that." Then, Ask the second question, what is this protection costing me? Again, just listen. Feel the truth of it. Feel the loneliness, the numbness, the exhaustion. After this inquiry comes the first small action. The first turn of a key in a rusted lock. Go to a mirror. Look past the surface and into your own eyes. This can be intensely difficult. Your gaze may want to flicker away. Stay with it. You are looking for the prisoner inside the armor, and then you are going to let that prisoner speak. Not a great, earth-shattering truth. Just one tiny, simple, harmless truth. A truth so small the armor's warden might not even notice. Say it out loud. I feel tired today. I do not like this sweater. My shoulders are tense. I would rather be reading a book right now. Choose your own small truth. And as you speak it, watch your own eyes. Witness the flicker of life. Hear the sound of your own voice articulating a genuine piece of your inner reality. This tiny act is profoundly revolutionary. It is a pinprick of light in a lifetime of darkness. It is a single drop of oil on a rusted hinge. It sends a message to the deepest parts of your being that you are listening. You are beginning to align with the truth of your experience, not the performance of your survival. It will not unleash chaos. It will not start a war. It will simply create a small crack in the armor. And through that crack, a little bit of your soul can begin to breathe again. You are not trying to become a different person. You are simply creating the conditions for the person who is already there. The person who has been trapped inside the armor for so long to finally be heard. Recognizing that your silence was a shield, forged in a battle that is long over, is the beginning of your liberation. By acknowledging its presence, its weight, and its true cost, and by speaking the smallest of truths into your own reflection, you have found the key that was always in your possession. But placing the key in the lock is one thing, turning it is another. The moment you truly contemplate removing even a single plate of this suffocating armor, a new and powerful force arises to guard the gate. It is the raw, primal fear of what lies outside these familiar walls. It is the fear of your own voice, the fear of its immense power, and the world-altering changes it will inevitably bring. We must now turn with courage and compassion and face this formidable guardian. You stand at the edge of your own liberation. You have acknowledged the silent echo chamber and felt the cold, heavy weight of the armor you wear. You hold the key of awareness in your hand. But as you approach the lock, a formidable guardian rises before you. It is fear. And this is not the familiar, low-grade anxiety you have lived with for years. This is a deep, primal, earth-shaking fear. It is crucial that you understand the nature of this guardian. It is not, as you might first believe, a fear of what others will do or say. It is not a fear of conflict or judgment. It is something far more profound. It is the fear of your own voice. You are afraid of what will happen when you finally speak. Not because your words are weak, but because they are powerful. Deep down, you know that your authentic voice is not a gentle whisper. It is a creative force. It is a tool that can rearrange reality. To speak your truth is to pick up a sculptor's chisel. With it, you can chip away the parts of your life that are false. You can shape a new identity. You can carve out a new destiny. But you also know that a single, heartfelt sentence, "I am not happy, I love you, this must change, I am leaving," can shatter the fragile peace of your current existence. It can end a relationship, change a career path, alter the dynamic of a family. It is an act of both creation and destruction. And the sheer responsibility of wielding such a tool is terrifying. This is the fear of the magician who is just discovering their spells. You have been living as a mundane, hiding your power even from yourself, and now you stand before your own spell book. To open it is to accept that you are no longer a passive observer of your life, but an active participant in its creation. This fear is compounded by a feeling of profound unworthiness. Who am I to wield this power? The fear whispers, Who am I to change the script? Better to leave things as they are. Better the known pain than the unknown chaos my own voice might unleash. We have been taught that power is external, that it belongs to other bosses, to leaders, to those who seem more confident than we are. To claim our own voice is to claim our sovereignty, and we fear we are not qualified to rule our own kingdom. Now, here is the secret. This fear is not a warning to turn back. It is a confirmation that you are headed in the right direction. The magnitude of your fear is a direct measure of the power you are about to reclaim. A small, inconsequential voice would generate only a small, inconsequential fear. A voice that has the power to change everything generates a fear that feels world-ending. Therefore, you must learn to reframe this experience. When the terror rises in your chest, when your throat tightens at the mere thought of speaking, do not see it as a sign of weakness. See it as a salute from the universe, acknowledging the force you carry within you. The fear is the thunder that precedes a cleansing, life-giving rain. We are conditioned to run from the thunder, but the wise farmer knows it is the harbinger of the water that will make the crops grow. Your fear is that thunder. Your voice is the rain that will wash away the dust of a lifetime and allow a new, green, vibrant self to grow. I invite you to change your inner language. Stop telling yourself, "I am afraid to speak." Instead, when the feeling arises, pause, take a breath, and affirm a new truth. I am sensing the immense power of my own voice, and I am learning how to hold it. This simple shift changes everything. You move from the position of a victim to the position of an apprentice. You are not running from a monster. You are learning to tame a dragon that is, and always has been, yours. This reframing brings you to the heart of the inner conflict. On one side stands the armored self, pleading for the status quo, for the predictable, soul-crushing safety of the prison you know. On the other side stands your soul, chained but radiant, begging for the glorious, terrifying freedom of the unknown. It knows that authenticity is worth the chaos of transformation. This is the ultimate threshold. To turn back now is to hand the key back to the jailer and resign yourself to a life sentence of quiet desperation. To step forward is to walk into the fire of your own becoming. But you do not have to walk into that fire unprotected and unprepared. The fear is too great to face another person right now. To do so would be to ask a novice to climb a great mountain without training. We must first practice in a sanctuary. Your sanctuary is the blank page. The page is a sacred confidant. It is a vessel that can hold your most volatile truths without being destroyed. The page will not interrupt you. It will not argue with you. It will not judge you or call you selfish. It will simply receive. So you will take this immense, terrifying power of your voice, and you will first channel it through your hands. You will perform an exercise in excavation. You will write a letter that you will never send. Take a pen and paper, or open a blank document. Address this letter to the person or situation that needs to hear your truth the most. Perhaps it is a parent, a partner, a boss. Perhaps it is the society that imposed its rules on you. Perhaps it is a younger version of yourself that you need to forgive. Or perhaps it is God, or the universe, or whatever you hold sacred. And then you write. You do not think. You do not edit. You do not censor. You give the fear, the rage, the grief, a voice on the page. If your words are a torrent of anger, let them carve a canyon through the paper. If they are a river of sorrow, let your tears fall and blur the ink. Write the unforgivable thoughts. Speak the selfish needs. Detail the unreasonable desires. Hold nothing back. This is not an exercise in communication. It is an exercise in liberation. You are drilling a hole into the pressurized chamber of your soul and installing a release valve. When you are done, when you feel empty, read it back to yourself. Aloud, if you can. Hear the words in the air. Feel their vibration. This is the sound of your truth. It did not destroy you. You survived the telling. You may feel raw, vulnerable, even exhausted, but it is the clean exhaustion that comes after a great effort, not the toxic fatigue of repression. This practice does a remarkable thing. It builds a new form of trust. Not trust in others, but trust in your own capacity to contain your truth. You learn, in the safety of your own presence, that your feelings are not fatal. Your voice will not shatter you. You are far bigger than your biggest emotions. As you allow these truths to flow onto the page, you will begin to notice something profound. The words do not seem to originate in your analytical mind. They seem to rise up from a deeper, more primal place. A knot in your stomach, a fire in your chest, a deep ache in your throat. You begin to understand, on a cellular level, that long before a truth ever becomes a thought or a word, it is a physical sensation. It is an energy stored in the tissues of your body. Your body has been speaking to you, crying out to you, for years, in a language you were taught to misinterpret or ignore. And so, to find the first truth that is ready to be spoken into the world, we must learn to shift our attention. We must move away from the frantic noise of the mind and descend into the deep, quiet wisdom of the flesh. We must learn to read our own sacred text. You have stood at the threshold of your fear and discovered that its power is but a reflection of your own. You have taken the first courageous step of giving that power a voice, safely, on the blank page. In doing so, you have unearthed a profound realization. Your deepest truths do not originate in the fleeting thoughts of your mind. They rise up from a much older, wiser place. They rise up from your body. We must now turn our attention to this vessel, not as a machine to be commanded, but as a sacred text to be read. Your body is a living manuscript, and your biography is written in your biology. Every cell is a word, every organ a chapter, every sensation a sentence, crying out to be understood. For most of our lives, we are taught to be illiterate in this native tongue. We are trained to live from the neck up, marooned in the busy, anxious chatter of our minds. The body becomes an inconvenience, a stubborn animal to be tamed, disciplined, and silenced when it complains. We feel a headache, and we take a pill to silence the messenger, never asking what news it brings. We feel a surge of anxiety, and we distract ourselves with a screen or a substance, never inquiring into the nature of the perceived threat. We feel exhaustion deep in our bones, and we force it into submission with caffeine and willpower, ignoring the soul's desperate plea for rest and realignment. This is the great schism of modern life, the severing of mind from body, of intellect from intuition. We treat our bodies as though they were separate from our true selves, when in fact, they are the most honest expression of who we are. Your body does not know how to lie. When your mouth says, "I'm fine," your clenched jaw tells the truth of your anger. When your words say, "It's no trouble at all," the knot in your stomach speaks the truth of your resentment. When you agree to one more demand, the crushing weight on your shoulders reveals the truth of your burden. To ignore these signals is a survival mechanism. To truly inhabit a body filled with years of stored grief, rage, and fear would be overwhelming. So we learn to dissociate, to numb ourselves, to float above the neck where the waters of feeling are less turbulent. But this disconnection comes at an unbearable cost. It is a slow death of the self. The internal conflict is constant. Your mind, the frantic manager, wants to push forward, to maintain control, to keep up appearances. Your body, the honest oracle, is pulling back, creating symptoms, sending signals of distress, trying to save you from a life that is out of alignment with your spirit. It is not your enemy. The pain is not a punishment. It is a form of love. It is the body's desperate, compassionate attempt to get your attention, to highlight the passages in your own sacred text that you have been too afraid to read. The persistent tension in your throat is the chapter about all the words you have swallowed. The chronic ache in your lower back is the story of feeling unsupported and alone. The flutter in your chest is the poem of a joy that is longing to be expressed. Think of your body as the earth itself. A geologist can read the history of a landscape in its layers of rock, its fault lines, its riverbeds. They can see where there were floods, where there were droughts, where the very ground was violently shaken. In the same way, your body is a landscape that carries the memory of your entire life. Your traumas are its fault lines. Your griefs are its deep, quiet rivers. Your joys are the sunlit meadows. To heal is to become the geologist of your own being. It is to learn to read the map of your own flesh and bone, and to treat it not with judgment, but with reverence and curiosity. The practice for learning this forgotten language is not complicated. It does not require intellectual effort. It requires a radical shift from thinking to feeling, from fixing to listening. We will call this practice sacred literacy, and it takes the form of a body scan meditation. Find a time and place where you can lie down and be undisturbed. Close your eyes and bring your awareness to your breath for a few moments, letting it anchor you in the present. Now, bring your focus to the tips of your toes. Do not try to change or relax anything. Simply notice. Is there warmth, coolness, tingling, numbness? There is no right or wrong answer. You are simply gathering data. You are reading the first word of the page. Gently ask the question, what is here? Then slowly, lovingly, move your awareness up your body, through your feet, your ankles, your calves, your knees. Linger in each place, not with the intention of a diagnostician looking for problems, but with the patient curiosity of a lover getting to know their beloved. As you travel upward, you will inevitably encounter areas of tension, numbness, or pain. These are the passages that have been highlighted for you. When your awareness reaches the knot in your stomach, for instance, the instinct is to recoil, to brace against it. Do the opposite. Soften around it. Breathe into it. Imagine you are sending your warm, compassionate breath directly into that area of constriction. Then ask it, with genuine, gentle curiosity, what are you holding for me? What truth are you trying to speak? Do not demand an answer. The body's language is not always verbal. The answer may come as a fleeting image, a faint memory, a surge of emotion, or a single word that floats into your mind. It might simply be a deeper understanding of the feeling itself. This is fear, or this is grief. Your job is only to listen, to create a safe space for the story to be told. Continue your journey, up through your chest, your shoulders, paying special attention to the throat, the jaw, the space between your eyebrows. Each location holds a library of information. This practice, over time, cultivates embodiment. It is the process of coming home to yourself. The feeling of being a mind driving a machine begins to dissolve, and you start to experience yourself as a unified field of awareness. You are no longer living in a small, cramped room in the attic of your mind. You are inhabiting the entire mansion of your being. This is the ultimate form of grounding. The stories in your head about the past and the future lose their grip. The raw, unfiltered data of the sensation in your right hip is happening now. It is undeniable. It is true. As you practice this sacred literacy, you become fluent in the language of your own truth. A pattern will begin to emerge. You will start to notice that many of the most acute physical sensations, the tight throat, the clenched stomach, the heavy heart, are directly connected to moments where your boundaries were crossed, where your energy was drained, where a part of you screamed, "No," while your mouth stayed silent. The body, in its infinite wisdom, is teaching you the precise shape and feel of your own soul's perimeter. It is teaching you the visceral, non-negotiable feeling of a truth that must be honored. And the first word that gives voice to this embodied boundary, the word that builds the first post in the fence to protect your sacred ground, is the word number. Through the practice of sacred literacy, you have begun to decipher the ancient manuscript of your own body. You have listened to its aches, its tensions, its whispers, and you have discovered that it is a flawless compass, constantly pointing toward your truth. A pattern has emerged from this listening. You now recognize the physical signature of a violated boundary, the tightening in your throat, the clenching of your stomach, the sudden drain of your energy. Your body, in its profound wisdom, has been crying out for a barrier, for a demarcation, for a line to be drawn in the sand. It is time to give this embodied wisdom a voice. And the first, most fundamental, and perhaps most terrifying word of this new vocabulary is the word number. We are taught to think of no as a negative word, a word of rejection, of conflict, of unkindness. For the soul that has been conditioned to please, to accommodate, and to keep the peace, no can feel like a weapon too terrible to wield. Its utterance is tangled with our deepest fears of abandonment. As children, we learned quickly that our yes or compliance, our agreeableness, was the currency we used to purchase love and approval. A no could result in the withdrawal of affection, a look of disappointment, or a tangible punishment. We encoded this equation deep within our nervous system. Yes equals safety and connection. No equals danger and isolation. This conditioning has followed us into adulthood, where we continue to trade our authenticity for approval, abandoning ourselves over and over again to avoid the discomfort of displeasing others. We have mistaken niceness for kindness. Niceness is about avoiding friction at all costs. Kindness, true kindness, is rooted in respect and truth. And there is nothing kind about the slow, silent suicide of the self that occurs every time you say yes when your entire being is screaming no. Therefore, we must reclaim no from the shadows of our fear and place it in its rightful position as a sacred word. No is not a word of aggression, it is a word of definition. It is not an attack, it is an act of clarification. Imagine your energy, your time, your soul is a beautiful, secluded garden. For years, the gate has been left open. Anyone has been allowed to wander in, to trample the fragile sprouts, to take what they wish, to leave their muddy footprints. Your garden is exhausted, depleted, and barely surviving. Saying no is the holy act of building a fence. It is not an act of hostility intended to keep the world out. It is an act of love intended to protect the sacred ground within, so that something beautiful may finally have the space to grow. Each time you speak a no to a request that drains you, you are speaking a resounding yes to your own well-being. A no to working late is a yes to your body's need for rest. A no to engaging in gossip is a yes to your desire for peace. A no to a commitment that feels false is a yes to your own precious life force. No is the sword that draws a circle on the ground, declaring, "This space is mine. This is where I end and the world begins. My needs are valid. My energy is sacred." It is the most fundamental declaration of self-worth. The internal conflict this creates can be immense. The old programming, the good person who always says yes, will rise up in protest. It will flood you with guilt. It will warn you of catastrophic consequences. They won't like you anymore. You're being selfish. You're letting them down. It is a battle between your conditioning and your newfound consciousness. In each small moment of decision, you stand at a crossroads. Will you betray yourself once more to appease the ghost of a past fear? Or will you honor the living, breathing truth you feel in your body, even if it causes a temporary ripple in the waters around you? To begin, you do not need to say no in a life-altering situation. That is like trying to lift a boulder before you have trained your muscles. You will start small. You will practice with micro-boundaries. When a colleague asks you to take on a task that is not your responsibility, and you feel that familiar knot in your stomach, pause. Resist the automatic yes. Try a calm, simple, "I'm not able to take that on right now." When a friend suggests an activity that you have no energy for, resist the urge to invent a complicated excuse. Try an honest, "Thank you for thinking of me, but I need a quiet evening tonight." Notice the power of these simple statements. The crucial element is to deliver your no without excessive apology or elaborate justification. A long, rambling explanation is a signal to the other person and to yourself that you do not fully believe in your right to say no. You are asking for their permission to have a boundary. You do not need anyone's permission. That doesn't work for me is a complete sentence. I don't have the capacity for that is a complete and honest statement. No is a complete sentence. The second part of this practice is just as important as the first. After you have spoken the word, you must stay present with the aftermath within yourself. Do not immediately distract yourself. Do not ruminate on how the other person might be feeling. Stay inside your own body. You will likely feel a wave of discomfort, a cocktail of guilt, fear, and adrenaline. This is the withdrawal from the drug of approval. Your task is to simply breathe through it. Acknowledge it. This is the feeling of setting a boundary. Hold yourself with compassion as you would a frightened child. And then, underneath that initial wave of discomfort, look for the new feeling. It may be faint at first, but it will be there. It is a sense of solidity in your own bones. It is a quiet hum of self-respect. It is the feeling of integrity, of your inner and outer worlds finally coming into alignment. It is the feeling of coming home. With each small no, you are performing a sacred act of recalibration. You are teaching your nervous system that you can, in fact, survive the disapproval of others. You are building a body of evidence that the catastrophic consequences you feared do not materialize. The world does not end. Those who truly care for you will respect your boundaries, even if they are surprised at first. And those who leave because you are no longer endlessly available to them were not there for you. They were there for what you could provide. You are teaching them how to treat you by showing them what you will and will not accept. Your yes, in turn, becomes infinitely more valuable, for it is now a gift given freely from a place of genuine desire, not a tax paid from a place of obligation. As you practice the sacred art of no, you are plugging the countless energy leaks that have left you depleted for years. You are, for the first time, beginning to accumulate your own life force. You are filling the reservoir of your own being, and once this reservoir, which was once perpetually dry, begins to fill with clear, clean water, a new and exciting question begins to surface. Now that you have this precious energy, this protected vitality, what will you do with it? Where will you choose to direct its powerful flow? Having learned the word that protects, we must now learn the word that creates. We must learn to speak the second sacred word, yes. Having learned to build the sacred fence of no, you have stopped the ceaseless draining of your life force. You have reclaimed your energy from the endless demands and expectations of the world, gathering it into a deep, clear reservoir within you. For the first time, perhaps in your entire life, you possess a surplus of your own vitality. You stand beside this quiet, powerful pool of potential and face a new, exhilarating question. Now what? Now that this energy is yours to command, where will you direct its flow? The answer lies in the second sacred word, a word that is not one of passive agreement, but of active, potent creation. The word is yes. This is not the yes of your past. The old yes was a word of compliance, often born of fear. It was a nervous habit, a tool for people-pleasing, an act of self-abandonment. You scattered those yeses like cheap coins, hoping to buy safety and approval, and in doing so, you spent yourself into a state of spiritual poverty. The yes we speak of now is entirely different. It is a yes spoken from a place of fullness, not lack. It is a yes that rises from the quiet, solid ground you have secured with your number. It is a declaration of intent, a sovereign decree, a focused beam of light that you now consciously aim at the life you wish to create. It is the word that tells the universe not what you are running from, but what you are running toward. A conscious, embodied yes is one of the most powerful forces you can wield. It is an alignment of your personal will with the great, unfolding will of life itself. It is a signal you send from the core of your being out into the quantum field, stating with clarity and conviction, I am ready. I consent to this experience. I am available for this reality. Think again of your soul as a sacred garden. Your no was the arduous, necessary work of pulling the weeds, removing the stones, and building the fence. The soil is now dark, rich, and protected. A yes is the deliberate act of planting a specific seed in that fertile ground. It is the conscious choice of what you wish to cultivate in your life. A yes to healing, a yes to creativity, a yes to joy, a yes to love. Without this intentional planting, the protected garden may grow nothing but grass. It is safe, but it is not fulfilling its potential. Your yes is the act that brings forth the flowers. Consider the metaphor of a ship at anchor in a harbor. For years you were tethered to a place you did not wish to be. The practice of no was the strenuous, liberating act of pulling up that heavy anchor. But a ship without an anchor and without direction simply drifts. It is at the mercy of the tides and currents. The sacred yes is the act of taking the helm, turning the rudder, and setting your sails to catch the wind. You are no longer drifting. You are navigating. You are choosing a destination. This, too, brings its own fear. The harbor, for all its confinement, was known. The open sea is vast, unpredictable, and full of mystery. To say yes to your soul's true calling, to write the book, to start the business, to learn the instrument, to embark on the healing journey is to leave the safety of the harbor behind. It makes the dream real, and in making it real, it makes you accountable to it. It is often more comfortable to live with the vague, romantic idea of your potential than to face the exhilarating, terrifying work of actualizing it. A true yes eliminates the option of turning back. It is a commitment. It is a vow. So, how do you speak this word in a way that makes the universe listen? You must do it with ritual. You must do it with your entire being. First, you must listen inwardly to identify a genuine soul, yes. Look at the pool of energy you have cultivated. What does it want to nourish? It need not be a grand 5-year plan. It may be something small, yet deeply resonant. Yes to spending 1 hour each week in nature, without a phone. Yes to filling a sketchbook with drawings, no matter how unskilled you believe you are. Yes to treating your body with the kindness you would offer a cherished friend. Yes to finally seeking the help you need to heal a persistent wound. Find that one, true yes, that makes your heart feel a little lighter, a little warmer. Now, return to the sacred space of your own reflection. Stand before the mirror. This is the altar where you meet yourself. Look into your eyes, not with criticism, but with the respect you would show a revered elder. You are looking at the soul you are choosing to honor. Take a deep, cleansing breath and anchor yourself in the solid ground of your body. Then, speak the word. Give your yes a voice. Yes. Say it to your chosen intention. Yes. I say yes to my own healing. Feel the vibration of the word in your throat, in your chest. Let it resonate through you. Now, say it again, this time with more force, more conviction, drawing the energy up from the earth. Yes, watch yourself as you speak. See the person in the mirror, making this sacred vow. This is an act of ordination. In this moment, you are anointing yourself as the high priest or priestess of your own life. You are claiming your power to direct your destiny. This act is far more than symbolic. It is an energetic event. A yes spoken with such focused intention is like striking a tuning fork in the center of your being. The frequency of that yes vibrates through every cell and radiates outward. The universe, which is a great field of resonance, responds to clear signals. It begins to rearrange itself around your declared intention. This is not magic in the way of fiction. It is the physics of consciousness. When you consciously say yes to something, your entire perceptual system is retuned. You start to notice the opportunities, the helpers, the synchronicities that were there all along but were invisible to you when your energy was scattered and your focus was on what you didn't want. The conversation you overhear is about the very thing you said yes to. The book that falls off the shelf is the one you need to read. The person you meet holds a key to your next step. Your yes did not create these things out of thin air. It simply made you receptive to the reality that was already waiting for you. These two sacred words, no and yes, are the twin pillars upon which you build a sovereign life. They are the foundational decrees of your new reality. No is the word of protection, the sacred act of defining your energetic space. Yes is the word of creation, the sacred act of directing your life force. Think of them as the two primary controls of your vessel. No steers you away from the rocks and shoals of distraction and depletion. Yes steers you toward the vast, open ocean of your highest potential. But what is it that gives these words such tangible power? Why does a heartfelt no feel like a physical shield, and a conscious yes feel like a current of electricity? It is because these words, and all words you speak, are not merely abstract, intellectual concepts. They are, at their very essence, packets of energy. They are frequencies. They are vibrations. To become the true author of your experience, you must now go deeper and understand the fundamental nature of your creative medium. You must come to know your words as vibrational spells. Having claimed the power of no to define your space and the power of yes to direct your creation, we now arrive at the very source of their potency. We must ask why these words, and all words, have such a profound impact on our reality. The answer requires a shift in perception, a willingness to look beyond the surface of things and into the energetic nature of existence. We have been taught that words are merely labels, convenient sounds we use to identify objects and express ideas. This is a materialistic and profoundly limited view of language. The truth, understood by mystics and sages for millennia, and now being echoed in the discoveries of quantum physics, is that words are not just symbols. Words are energy. Words are vibration. Every syllable you speak is a vibrational packet of creative force, a spell cast into the resonant field of the universe. Your logical mind may balk at this idea. It may label it as fanciful or unscientific. So let us begin with your own direct experience. Feel, in your own body, the vast difference between two phrases. Say quietly to yourself, I am worthless. Feel the effect. Notice the subtle downward pull, the tightening in your chest, the slight dimming of the light in your mind. It is a heavy, dense, contracting energy. Now, clear it. Take a breath and say, with equal sincerity, I am worthy of love. Feel the change. Notice the lightness, the expansion in your chest, the subtle brightening of your inner world. It is a light, expansive, uplifting energy. Your body, that sacred text we have learned to read, knows the truth without needing intellectual proof. It understands that words are not neutral. They are instructions that program your cellular and emotional state. Every word you speak has a unique vibrational signature. The words peace, love, and gratitude carry high, harmonious frequencies. The words hate, fear, and blame carry low, chaotic frequencies. The words you choose to use habitually, especially those you speak about yourself and your life, combine to create your dominant resonance. This is your personal energetic field, the atmosphere in which you live, move, and have your being. And according to the most fundamental law of the universe, the law of vibration, like attracts like. You do not attract into your life what you want, you attract what you are. Your vibrational signature is a constant broadcast, a signal sent out into the cosmos, and the universe, in its impersonal wisdom, simply matches that frequency and sends back experiences, people, and circumstances that resonate with it. This is not a punishment or a reward. It is physics. When you constantly say, I never have enough money, you are casting a spell of lack. You are tuning your entire being to the frequency of not enough. Your perception becomes filtered to notice evidence of lack everywhere. You miss opportunities because they don't fit the vibration of your spell. Your energy becomes constricted and fearful, which repels the very abundance you desire. When you constantly say, I'm always so tired, you are casting a spell of exhaustion. You are commanding your body's cells to align with a state of depletion. You are programming your reality for fatigue. Conversely, when you speak words of gratitude, you cast a spell of abundance. When you speak words of vitality, you cast a spell of health. You are the magician of your own life, constantly casting spells with your tongue, whether you are aware of it or not. The path to mastery is to move from being an unconscious magician to a conscious one. The internal conflict here is between the entrenched skeptic and the awakening intuitive self. The skeptic insists, "This is absurd. My saying it's a miserable day doesn't physically change the weather." But the intuitive self knows better. It replies, "No, it doesn't change the weather, but it changes you." It changes the lens through which you experience the weather. Saying, "It's a miserable day" is a command to your subconscious to hunt for misery. You will notice the traffic, the rudeness of a stranger, the chill in the air. Had you said, "What an interesting day this will be," you might have noticed the beauty of the gray sky, the kindness of the person who held the door, the coziness of your home. The external events are neutral. Your verbal spell gives them their charge and meaning in your personal universe. You are not denying reality. You are choosing your energetic participation with it. To prove this principle to your skeptical mind, you must conduct an experiment. You must become the scientist of your own vibrational output. For one full day, you will go on a verbal diet. From the moment you wake until you sleep, you will fast from all low-frequency words. This includes complaining, blaming, criticizing yourself or others, gossiping, and speaking of fear, doubt, or worry. You are forbidden from uttering phrases like, "This is impossible," "I'm so stressed," "He always does that," "I can't believe this is happening again." This will be much harder than you imagine, for you will discover how deeply ingrained these speech patterns are. They are the default soundtrack for many lives. While you are fasting from these words, you must feast upon high-frequency words. You will actively hunt for opportunities to speak truth, beauty, and gratitude into the world. Speak your appreciation aloud, even for the smallest things. "This water tastes so clean and fresh. I am so grateful for the warmth of this blanket. That was a truly kind thing you just did." Praise the effort of others. Acknowledge the beauty you see. Speak of your desires not from a place of lack, but from a place of joyful anticipation. "I am welcoming a day of ease and flow. I am open to discovering creative solutions." This is not about being dishonest or pretending. It is about consciously choosing to water the flowers in your garden instead of the weeds. Throughout this day, your only other task is to observe. Observe your own emotional state. Observe your physical energy levels. Observe how others interact with you. Observe the small synchronicities, the moments of grace, the unexpected opportunities that appear. You are changing the signal you are broadcasting, and you must pay attention to the new program you receive. This experiment will reveal to you, more powerfully than any book or teacher, the direct and immediate link between your words and your world. You will see that you are not a victim of circumstance, but the powerful creator of your experience, and your voice is your wand. You are constantly painting your reality with the colors of the words you choose. We have explored the immense power of the sounds you create, the vibrational spells you cast with every sentence. But a master magician knows that power lies not only in the casting of spells, but in the deliberate withholding of them. If every word is a ripple on the pond, what is the power of a conscious, intentional stillness? What potent magic resides in the sacred pause? After learning the art of the well-spoken word, we must now turn to its equally powerful twin, the art of the well-kept silence. We must explore the profound and often misunderstood energy of intentional silence. Having explored the nature of your words as vibrational spells, you now understand that every sound you create is a powerful act of creation, shaping your energy and the world that responds to it. But the conscious magician knows that power is found not only in what is spoken, but also in what is intentionally left unsaid. We must now turn our attention to the other side of the coin, to the profound and deeply misunderstood power of intentional silence. This is not the silence we began with, not the heavy, fearful silence of repression, the silence of the armor. This is a new kind of silence. It is a silence that is chosen, a silence that is active, a silence that is more potent than 1,000 careless words. In our modern world, we have become terrified of silence. We treat it as a vacuum, an awkward void that must be immediately filled with noise. We chatter to avoid intimacy. We fill conversations with meaningless filler to avoid the perceived judgment of a pause. We surround ourselves with a constant stream of external sound to avoid having to listen to the landscape of our own minds. This compulsive need to fill space is a symptom of our own inner static. We are so uncomfortable with the noise inside ourselves that we cannot bear a moment of quiet on the outside. But in doing so, we rob ourselves of one of the most powerful tools of connection, wisdom, and creation. True, intentional silence is not emptiness, it is presence. It is a space so full of awareness that it requires no sound to validate it. Think of the master painter. They understand that the empty, white space on the canvas is just as important as the brush strokes. The emptiness is what gives the subject its form, its power, its definition. Without the negative space, there is no art, only a meaningless smear of color. Your silence is this sacred white space. It frames your words, giving them context and weight. Think of the night sky. It is the vast, deep, silent blackness of the cosmos that allows the stars to appear so brilliant. Without the backdrop of immense silence, we would be blind to the light. Intentional silence is the backdrop that allows truth to shine. A seed does not germinate under the glare of constant light. It cracks open and sends down its roots in the quiet, patient, nurturing darkness of the earth. Silence is the fertile ground where understanding takes root. The most practical and transformative application of this power is within your conversations. Here, a deliberate pause becomes a tool of alchemy. When you learn to wield the sacred pause, you move from a state of unconscious reaction to one of conscious response. A reaction is a habit. It is an old neural pathway firing automatically, often from a place of ego, fear, or past conditioning. It is the quick retort, the defensive explanation, the immediate and unsolicited advice. A response, however, is born in the space of silence. It is a considered, authentic, and wise choice made from the present moment. The pause is the crucible where you transmute the lead of reaction into the gold of response. In that sacred gap, you give yourself a moment to breathe, to connect with the wisdom of your body, and to choose the vibrational spell you wish to cast, rather than having an old, unconscious spell cast itself through you. Furthermore, deploying a conscious silence changes the entire dynamic of an interaction. It is a profound act of respect. When you pause before you speak, you are sending a powerful, non-verbal message to the other person. I have heard you. I am not just waiting for my turn to talk. I have taken your words in, and I am giving them the honor of my full consideration. This simple act builds more trust and intimacy than hours of agreeable chatter. It makes the other person feel seen and valued on a deep level. It also creates a space for deeper truths to emerge. When you don't immediately rush in to fill a conversational gap, the other person will often feel compelled to fill it themselves, and what they add is frequently more honest and revealing than their initial statement. You are holding a space for their soul to speak. The practice to cultivate this skill is simple in its instruction, yet challenging in its execution. It is the practice of the sacred pause. In your very next conversation, whether it is with a loved one, a colleague, or a clerk at a store, I invite you to make a conscious commitment to this experiment. When the other person has finished speaking, you will resist the powerful, conditioned urge to immediately jump in. Instead, you will pause, just for 2 or 3 seconds. It will feel like an eternity at first. Your nervous system may scream at you that this is awkward, that you are failing at the social contract. Your task is to hold the space. In those 2 or 3 seconds, you will perform 3 actions simultaneously. First, you will take one slow, silent breath. Second, you will feel the resonance of their words in your body, noticing any sensations that arise. Third, you will ask your deeper self, what is the truest and most helpful thing to say right now? Often the answer will be far different from what your reactive mind had prepared. Sometimes the answer will be a question rather than a statement. Sometimes the answer will be a simple reflection of what they said. And sometimes the answer will be nothing. You will discover that your presence, your attentive silence, is the most powerful and healing response you can offer. By practicing this, you transform yourself from a source of noise into a sanctuary of understanding. People will begin to feel a sense of peace and clarity around you. Your own words, when you do choose to speak them, will have a newfound weight and resonance, because they will emerge from a place of stillness and intention, not from a place of nervous energy. You are learning that silence is not a void, it is a vibration. It is the deep, grounding hum of the earth, a frequency of stability, wisdom, and infinite potential. It is the resonant chamber that purifies and amplifies truth. We have now journeyed from the fearful, armored silence of repression to the potent, creative silence of intention. We have learned to listen to the echoes within, to feel the wisdom of the body, to wield the spells of our spoken words, and now, to harness the power of the sacred pause. You are gathering a complete set of tools for conscious living. You have found a new clarity in the quiet. The time is now approaching to carry this hard-won wisdom out of the sanctuary of your inner work and into the world of your relationships. It is time to move from speaking your truth only to yourself in the mirror or on the page, and to begin the courageous, world-changing act of speaking your truth to others. Having journeyed through the inner landscapes of your being, you have learned to listen to your body, to wield the creative power of your words, and to find wisdom in the sanctuary of silence. You have gathered your tools and fortified your spirit. Now, you stand at a new threshold, the one that leads from the inner world to the outer. It is the moment where you must take the truth you have so carefully excavated and share it with another human being. It is here that many of us falter, stopped by a great and powerful tyrant, the need to be right. We believe, because we have been taught, that before we are granted permission to speak, we must first build an unassailable case. We must gather our evidence, anticipate counter-arguments, and prepare to defend our position as if we were in a court of law. We confuse our personal truth with a singular, objective, provable, the truth. This confusion is the source of a profound paralysis. We hold our tongues because we fear our case is not strong enough. We silence ourselves because we think, what if I've misinterpreted the situation? What if my feelings are an overreaction? What if they can logically dismantle my argument? This turns communication into a battle to be won, rather than a bridge to be built. We spend so much energy trying to prove that our version of reality is the correct one that we lose sight of the actual goal, which is connection and understanding. So we say nothing, and the unspoken truth, the unexpressed feeling, remains trapped inside us, where it festers, turning into resentment, anxiety, and illness. Today, you are invited to lay down this burden. You are invited to release yourself from the tyranny of having to be right. The great liberation on this path is the realization that your task is not to speak the truth, but simply to speak your truth. What is the difference? The truth pretends to be objective, universal, and absolute. Your truth, however, is personal, subjective, and irrefutable. Your truth is the raw data of your own human experience. It is the sensation in your body, the emotion in your heart, the story your mind is telling. It cannot be wrong because it is simply what you are experiencing. Think of it this way. Imagine you and another person are standing in the same large room, which represents a shared event or situation. But you are each looking out of a different window. The view from your window shows a garden and a rising sun. The view from their window shows a street and falling rain. It would be futile for you to argue with each other about whether the sun is rising or the rain is falling. Both are true, from your unique vantage points. Speaking your truth is simply the act of describing, as honestly as you can, the view from your window. When you claim this understanding, your truth becomes invulnerable. If you say to someone, "The sky is blue," they can argue with you. But if you say, "From where I am standing, I see a blue sky," they cannot logically debate your experience. They can share that they see something different from their position, but they cannot invalidate your view. This is the unshakable power of speaking from your personal reality. When you say, "I feel sad," or "I feel angry," or "I feel joyful," no one on earth can legitimately tell you, "No, you don't." They may not understand your feeling. They may not have intended to cause it, but they cannot negate its existence within you. Your feelings are your sovereign territory. This profound shift requires a change not only in intention, but in language. The language of the truth is the language of accusation. It is filled with you statements. "You made me feel," "You always," "You never." These statements put the other person on the defensive and immediately create an adversarial dynamic. The language of your truth, however, is the language of revelation. It is built upon I statements. It does not seek to blame. It seeks only to reveal your inner world to another. It is an act of profound vulnerability, an invitation into your garden. Instead of saying, "You were so inconsiderate," you might say, "When that happened, I felt hurt." Instead of "You ignored me," you might try, "I felt very alone and unseen at the party." A particularly gentle and powerful way to phrase this is to own your narrative by saying, "The story I'm telling myself is," for example, "The story I am telling myself is that my contributions are not valued in this project." This acknowledges that your perception is a story, not necessarily the absolute truth, but it is the story that is causing your pain, and it invites the other person to help you write a new one. To bring this from theory into practice, you must begin in a low-stakes environment. Choose a relationship where a degree of safety and trust already exists. Think of a small, lingering feeling that you have not expressed. Then, use this simple three-part structure to give it a voice. I feel, name your emotion. When, describe the specific, non-judgmental behavior. Because, explain the impact it has on you or the story it creates for you. For instance, I feel a little anxious. The emotion, when we don't confirm our plans until the last minute. The specific behavior, because it makes me feel like my schedule isn't a priority. The impact. The goal of this exercise is not to manipulate the other person into changing or to get a specific outcome. The goal is for you to practice the act of cleanly and calmly articulating your inner reality. It is an exercise in honoring yourself in the presence of another. When you do this, something magical begins to happen. You take an immense pressure off your own shoulders. You no longer need to be a perfect orator or a flawless logician. You only need to be an honest reporter of your own heart. And very often this honesty acts as a disarming force. When people feel they are being invited into your experience rather than being attacked for their behavior, their own defenses naturally begin to lower. It opens a space for curiosity and empathy to enter the room, replacing the specters of accusation and defense. This is how you find your voice in the world, not by shouting the loudest, or by having the most facts, or by winning the most arguments. You find your voice by becoming a faithful and courageous guardian of your own unique experience. Your truth is your compass, pointing only to your personal north. It is your song, with a melody that only you can sing. It needs no external validation, no committee approval, no permission to exist. It is true and valid simply because it is yours. Speaking your truth in this new vulnerable way is a revolutionary act. It is a sacred offering, an invitation to a deeper and more authentic connection. But Like any invitation, it can be declined. Sometimes, even when you speak from your heart with perfect grace and compassion, your truth will land on infertile ground. It may still trigger defensiveness, anger, or denial in another. Your vulnerable revelation may inadvertently launch you into the turbulent waters of a difficult conversation. And so, we must now learn how to hold our center, stay in our integrity, and navigate that stormy sea with both profound strength and unwavering compassion. You have spoken your truth with grace, offering it to another as a vulnerable and honest gift. But sometimes, this offering is not received with the openness you had hoped for. Sometimes, your truth, no matter how gently delivered, collides with another's fear, their pain, their own armored self. In these moments, you find yourself standing at the doorway to a difficult conversation. Our instinct, forged over a lifetime of conflict avoidance, is to retreat. We fear the heat, the pressure, the unpredictable nature of what lies within that room. We choose the cold, silent war of resentment and misunderstanding over the perceived danger of open dialogue. We opt for the false peace of avoidance, which is not peace at all, but a slow poison that corrodes the foundations of love and trust. Today, we will reframe this experience. A difficult conversation is not a battlefield to be won or lost. It is an alchemical chamber. It is a sacred, fiery crucible where the base metals of anger, fear, and misunderstanding can be transmuted into the pure gold of connection and empathy. It is a forge where two separate perspectives, like two pieces of iron, are heated by the fire of honest emotion and hammered by the pressure of direct communication, not to destroy them, but to weld them into something new, something stronger and more resilient than what existed before. To willingly step into this chamber is a profound act of courage and a testament to your commitment to authentic relationships. The goal is not to win, the goal is to be transformed. To navigate this alchemical process, you need not be a master debater or a brilliant strategist. You need only to be a dedicated practitioner of a few golden rules. The first, and most important, is to set your intention before you ever speak a word. Sit quietly with yourself and ask, what is my truest goal in this conversation? If the honest answer is to prove I am right, to make them admit they were wrong, or to win, then you are entering the chamber as a warrior, and you will be met with war. You must consciously lay down these weapons. The transformative intention, the one that unlocks the alchemy, is this. My primary goal is to deeply understand the other person's world. I want to understand their feelings, their perspective, and their pain, even and especially if I do not agree with it. When you shift your intention from conquering to exploring, you change the entire energetic field of the conversation. You become a compassionate archaeologist, not an attacking soldier. The second golden rule is to master the sacred art of listening. In a place of high tension, your voice is not your primary tool. Your ears are. Commit to listening at least twice as much as you speak. And this is not the common form of listening, where we are simply quiet while preparing our next rebuttal. This is deep, embodied listening. When the other person is speaking, your entire job is to quiet the frantic, defensive voice in your own head and try to crawl inside their experience. Listen beneath their words. If they are shouting in anger, listen for the hurt or fear that is fueling the anger. If they are speaking with cold, defensive logic, listen for the vulnerability they are trying so desperately to protect. Listen with your heart, with your body, with the unified awareness you have been cultivating. You are listening not for facts, but for feelings. The third rule is the most powerful alchemical technique you can possess. It is the practice of using the mirror of reflection. After the other person has shared their perspective, especially if it is charged with emotion, your instinct will be to defend yourself, to correct their facts, to explain your intentions. You must resist this urge. Instead, you will simply mirror back what you have heard to confirm that you have understood. You use phrases like, "Okay, let me make sure I'm hearing you correctly," It sounds like you're saying that you feel completely abandoned and betrayed by my actions. Is that right? Or, so, what I'm hearing is that from your perspective, my behavior felt incredibly disrespectful and dismissive. Do I have that right? This simple act is miraculous in its effect. First, it forces you to truly listen, because you cannot mirror what you have not heard. Second, it instantly de-escalates the other person's defensiveness. To feel truly heard is a deep human need, and when you meet that need, the anger often subsides because its fuel has been removed. The anger was a desperate attempt to make you understand their pain. By showing them you understand, the need for the anger vanishes. Third, it clarifies any misunderstandings in the moment, preventing them from growing into larger resentments. As you engage in this process, you must also remain anchored in your own body. Feel your feet on the floor. Notice the rhythm of your own breath. When you feel a surge of defensiveness or a pang of hurt, do not lash out, breathe. Send a wave of compassion to that triggered part of yourself. Your goal is to be the calm, stable center of the crucible, the alchemist who is tending the fire, not the metal that is being blindly melted by it. You must hold onto your own truth while creating space for theirs. This is the delicate balance of the art. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, the other person will be unable or unwilling to engage in this process. They may remain in a state of attack or blame. In these moments, the alchemy is not a failure. It simply becomes a purely internal process. You hold your center, you listen, you refuse to engage in the battle. You state your truth calmly, and you may need to end the conversation if it becomes destructive. The gold you produce in this case is not a restored connection, but a profound and unshakable self-respect. You will have learned that you can stand in the fire of another's projection without being burned, and that clarity is its own precious treasure. These difficult conversations are the advanced work of an awakening heart. They are the moments that test our practice and forge our integrity. To avoid them is to choose a life of shallow peace and hidden resentments. To embrace them as alchemical opportunities is to choose a path of depth, courage, and authentic connection. In this fiery process, we discover that the most potent agent of transformation, the true philosopher's stone, is not our ability to speak our truth, but our capacity to truly hear another's process stone. We have seen it here as a powerful technique, but its true nature is far deeper. Listening is not merely a passive strategy. It is an active, creative, and spiritual force. It is time we explore listening not just as a tool, but as a path to healing the very fabric of our world. You have walked through the fire of the alchemical conversation, and you have discovered that its most potent catalyst is not your ability to speak, but your capacity to listen. We have touched upon listening as a strategy, a tool for de-escalation, but its true nature is far more profound. We must now elevate our understanding of this sacred art. Listening, in its purest form, is not the passive reception of sound. It is one of the most active and powerful forms of creation you can engage in. It is the conscious creation of a space where healing and understanding can be born. We live under the illusion that we are listening most of the time. In reality, we are merely hearing. Hearing is a biological process, the simple registration of auditory data. Listening, however, is a spiritual practice. Most of what we call listening is actually a form of waiting. We wait for a gap in the conversation to insert our own story. We wait for a flaw in the logic to mount our counterargument. We listen with a specific agenda, to diagnose, to fix, to relate, to impress. This is not listening. It is ego-centric information gathering. We filter the other person's sacred story through the noisy, cluttered attic of our own experiences, biases, and needs. When a friend shares their heartbreak, we are already searching our mental files for a similar story of our own, eager to prove we can relate. When a colleague expresses a frustration, we are already formulating a 5-point plan to solve their problem. In doing so, We unintentionally hijack their experience and make it about user wisdom, our experience, our solutions. We invalidate their unique journey by immediately trying to map it onto our own. Creative listening is the opposite of this. It is an act of profound self-emptying. To listen creatively is to consciously set aside your own stories, your own advice, your own egoic need to be helpful, and to become a vast, silent, and welcoming space. You become the sky, allowing the other person's thoughts and feelings, whether they are dark and stormy or bright and clear, to simply be, without judgment or interference. You become the quiet, fertile earth, creating a safe and nurturing environment into which they can plant the seed of their own truth and watch it grow. This is the creative act. You are creating a sanctuary with the quality of your attention. Think of yourself as a midwife to the soul. A masterful midwife does not give birth for the mother. She does not push or pull or force the process. Her primary role is to hold the space with unwavering calm, trust, and encouragement. She creates an atmosphere of such profound safety that the mother feels empowered to do the difficult work herself. This is your role as a creative listener. You are not there to give birth to the other person's solution or clarity. You are there to hold the space so they can give birth to their own. Very often, people do not need your advice. They need a space safe enough to hear themselves think. Your silent, focused presence becomes a resonant chamber, a sounding board against which their own jumbled thoughts can strike and organize themselves into a coherent melody. In the presence of your stillness, they find their own clarity. The internal conflict here is immense, for it pits your soul's wisdom against your ego's programming. The ego desperately wants to be useful. It has been taught that its value lies in what it can do in fixing, solving, and advising. To simply sit in silence can feel, to the ego, like a failure. It will scream at you, say something, offer a solution, prove your worth. The path of creative listening requires you to gently quiet this voice. It requires you to trust that your undivided presence is the most valuable and healing gift you can possibly offer. It asks you to have faith that the other person has their own inner wisdom, and your job is not to replace it with your own, but to help them connect with it. To cultivate this ability, you must practice what we will call purpose-free listening. The next time a person comes to you to share something, especially something difficult, make a quiet vow to yourself. Unless they look you in the eye and explicitly say, "What do you think I should do?" you will not offer any advice. You will not try to solve their problem. You will not share a similar story from your own life. You will release yourself from the burden of having to fix them. Your entire purpose is to be a vessel. You will listen with your whole body. You will make eye contact. You will nod. And the only words you will allow yourself to speak will be those that encourage deeper exploration. Simple, powerful phrases like, "That sounds so hard. Tell me more about how that felt. Wow, I can only imagine." Or simply repeating their own powerful words back to them. So you felt completely betrayed. You become an empty bowl, allowing them to pour their story into a space of unconditional acceptance. The result of this practice is paradoxical and beautiful. The less you try to help, the more helpful you become. By releasing the need to control the outcome of the conversation, you create the conditions for the most positive outcome to emerge organically. People will leave conversations with you feeling not just heard, but lighter, clearer, and more empowered. They will have found their own way, and you will have been the silent, steady lighthouse that guided them home to themselves. This is also a profound gift to your own soul. It frees you from the exhausting and arrogant position of needing to have all the answers. It teaches you humility, patience, and a form of intimacy that is impossible when you are constantly formulating your next sentence. You learn that your being is more powerful than your doing. Through this deep, creative listening, you complete the circle of conscious communication. You have learned to speak your truth from an embodied, authentic place. And you have learned to receive another's truth with a creative, open, and healing heart. These are the twin flames of reclamation, the two wings that allow you to soar. With these two arts mastered, the art of speaking from the self and the art of listening for the self in others, you now possess the foundational tools to do more than simply improve your external relationships. You now have the power to turn this incredible focus inward and begin the most important creative project of your life. It is time to start re-scripting the conversation that runs constantly, the one that has more power over your happiness and destiny than any other. It is time to rewrite the story you tell yourself every single day. Having mastered the sacred arts of speaking your truth to others and listening with a creative heart, you now possess the twin flames of conscious communication. With these tools, you have the capacity to transform your relationships and heal the spaces you inhabit. But now, we must turn this powerful lens of awareness inward, to the most intimate, relentless, and impactful conversation of all, the monologue that runs inside your own mind. For it is here, in the silent theater of your skull, that your reality is either poisoned or nourished, moment by moment, by the script you allow to be spoken. For most of us, there is a ghost in the machine, a relentless narrator, a harsh inner critic who has been directing the show from the shadows for our entire lives. This voice is a master of sabotage. It speaks in absolutes, using words like always and never. It is a cruel perfectionist, magnifying your smallest flaws while completely dismissing your victories. It is the voice that whispers, "Who do you think you are?" when you dare to reach for a dream. It is the voice that screams, "You idiot," when you make a simple human mistake. It is the voice that constantly compares you to others, ensuring you always come up short. We have become so accustomed to its presence that we mistake its voice for our own. We believe we are the critic, but this voice is not you. It is a recording. It is an echo, a psychic inheritance. It is the internalized voice of a critical parent, a demanding teacher, a disapproving society, or a past version of yourself that felt abandoned and afraid. Long ago, you unconsciously hired this critic for a job, believing it would keep you safe. You thought its harsh bensuk would prevent you from making mistakes, from being judged, from failing. You gave this fearful entity a throne in your mind, and it has been ruling as a tyrant ever since, scripting a life of limitation, anxiety, and self-doubt. This inner script is the most powerful and consistent vibrational spell you cast. It runs 24 hours a day, programming your nervous system, informing your emotional state, and shaping your actions before you even take them. Imagine your mind is a garden. This inner critic is a rogue gardener who works tirelessly, day and night, planting the bitter weeds of self-recrimination, fear, and shame. You then look at the state of your life, at the lack of joy and fulfillment, and wonder why nothing beautiful will grow, all while being completely unaware of the constant sabotage happening within your own sacred ground. The most empowering truth you can embrace is this: you are the true owner of this garden. You are the director of this inner production, and you have the absolute authority to fire the critic. This is not an act of violence, but one of compassionate reorganization. You can thank the critic for its long, albeit misguided, service. You can acknowledge that it was trying, in its own clumsy way, to protect you. And then, you must gently but firmly relieve it of its duties. The role of inner narrator is now vacant, and you will consciously recast it. You will hire a new voice, a new presence. This is the voice of the compassionate mentor, the wise friend, the unconditional witness. This voice speaks a different language. Its tone is calm, kind, and grounded. It sees mistakes not as indictments of your character, but as valuable data for learning. It celebrates your effort, not just your results. When you fall, it does not kick you. It offers a hand and says, "That was a difficult step. Let's rest a moment and try again when you're ready." It honors your vulnerability and champions your courage. This is not about cultivating a false saccharine positivity. It is about nurturing a voice of profound, unwavering, and realistic self-respect. It is the voice of your own higher self, waiting patiently to be given the microphone. The practice for making this shift is a form of active mindfulness. We will call it catch and reframe. It is the art of becoming the vigilant, loving guardian of your own mind. The first step is to catch. You must learn to notice the critic's voice the moment it speaks. As soon as you hear that familiar, harsh, judgmental tone, "You're not good enough, you're going to fail. You look terrible today," you mentally hold up a hand and say, "Stop." You shine the bright light of your awareness onto that thought. The second step is to acknowledge. Do not fight, argue with, or try to suppress the critical thought. What you resist persists. Fighting it only gives it more energy. Instead, you calmly and neutrally acknowledge its presence from a place of detached authority. You say to yourself, "I recognize this thought. This is the voice of the inner critic." You can even add, "Thank you for sharing, but I'm choosing a different thought now." This simple act separates you, the conscious self, from the thought itself. You are no longer enmeshed with it. You are the observer of it. The third and most creative step is to reframe. This is where you consciously do the work of the new scriptwriter. You ask yourself the single most important question: what would a truly wise and compassionate friend say to me right now? Then you offer that new thought to yourself. Let's look at some examples. The critic says, "You completely failed at that presentation." You catch it, you acknowledge it. Then you reframe it with the mentor's voice. "That presentation didn't go as I had hoped, and I feel disappointed. What specific parts felt challenging, and what can I learn from this experience for next time?" The critic screams, "Who do you think you are to apply for that job?" The mentor calmly replies, "I am a person with valuable skills and a desire to grow. Applying is an act of courage, regardless of the outcome." The critic whispers, "You'll always be alone." The mentor responds with gentle truth, "I feel lonely right now, and that is a painful feeling. I will be kind to myself in this moment and think of one small way to feel more connected today." This is the work of carving a new riverbed for your thoughts. At first, it will feel artificial. The critic's voice flows through a deep canyon, a neural pathway worn smooth by years of repetition. The mentor's voice is a tiny new stream, but every single time you practice catch and reframe, you are directing more water into the new stream. You are consciously deepening the new channel. With patient, persistent practice, the new channel will become wider, deeper, and more powerful, until, one day, it becomes the new, natural course of your inner river. You are the sculptor, and your consciousness is the chisel. With each act of self-compassion, you are chipping away the rough, jagged edges of your conditioning, slowly revealing the magnificent, authentic self that has been waiting patiently within the stone all along. This internal rescripting is the most profound form of energetic hygiene you can practice. It is the source of all other changes. As you deliberately change the words you use with yourself, you are fundamentally altering your own vibrational signature, raising your frequency from the static of self-conflict to the clear music of self-acceptance. This powerful new resonance is not contained within you. It radiates from you like heat from a fire, and the universe, which is a great and perfect resonance chamber, a flawless mirror to your inner state, has no choice but to reflect this new, coherent vibration back to you in the form of your life experiences. We must now explore exactly how this internal energetic shift creates tangible, miraculous changes in your external world. Having turned your attention inward and begun the sacred work of rescripting your inner monologue, you have started to change the very foundation of your being. You are shifting your energy from the inside out, moving from a frequency of self-criticism to one of self-compassion. This is the most profound work you can do. But now we must ask, how does this internal shift create change in the external world? The answer lies in understanding the fundamental nature of the universe in which you live. You are not a solitary voice shouting into an empty, indifferent void. You are a resonant being, living inside a vast, intelligent, and perfectly responsive resonance chamber. The universe is not judging you, it is simply reflecting you. Imagine you are standing in the center of a grand cathedral built from a single, flawless crystal. The acoustics are perfect. If you whisper a word of fear, the entire structure trembles with that frequency, and the sound of fear echoes back to you from every direction. If you sing a clear, strong note of joy, the very walls seem to sing with you, amplifying and returning the vibration of joy in a magnificent chorus. This cathedral is the universe. It is a neutral, powerful amplifier. It does not have an opinion about the note you sing. It does not prefer joy over fear. Its only function is to receive your signal and reflect it back to you with perfect fidelity. This is the great secret. You are not a victim of a chaotic and random world. You are the singer in the crystal cathedral, and the song of your life is the one you are choosing to sing, moment by moment. Your being a complex symphony of your dominant thoughts, your core beliefs, your emotional state, and the words you speak is constantly emitting a vibrational frequency. This is your signal. This is your song. The law of attraction, or the law of resonance, is not a mystical trick for getting what you want. It is the simple, impersonal physics of this cosmic chamber. The frequency you broadcast attracts experiences, people, and circumstances that are vibrating at a compatible frequency. It cannot be otherwise. A radio tuned to 98.7 FM cannot receive the broadcast from 103.5 FM. It is not being punished or denied the other station. It is simply not a vibrational match for it. When your being is tuned to the frequency of anxiety and I am not worthy, you cannot receive the broadcast of peace and abundance. You are not being denied these things. You are simply on the wrong frequency to experience them. This understanding is both liberating and deeply challenging. It is liberating because it snatches your destiny from the hands of random chance and places it squarely back into your own. You are not powerless. You are, in fact, the most powerful person in your own life. But it is challenging because it demands the surrender of your most cherished identity, the identity of the victim. The victim is blameless. Things happen to the victim. There is a strange comfort in this powerlessness, as it absolves you of all responsibility. To accept that you are the singer in the cathedral means you can no longer blame the cathedral for the song you are hearing. You must look at the note you are producing. This is not about blaming yourself for past traumas or hardships that were beyond your control. This is not about guilt. It is about empowerment. It is about recognizing that from this moment forward, you have the sovereign power to choose the frequency you emit. So, how do you consciously become a broadcaster of a higher, clearer frequency? You begin with the most powerful, pure, and creative vibration available to you, the vibration of gratitude. Gratitude is the master key. It is the frequency that aligns you instantly with the reality of abundance, with the truth that you are supported, and with the energy of love. We will now begin a practice of a conscious, nightly broadcast. This is not a silent, mental exercise. You will use your voice, your body's own instrument, to send a physical vibration into the chamber of the universe. Every night, before you fall asleep, you will perform this sacred ritual. You will find a quiet space, and you will speak aloud 3 specific things from your day for which you are genuinely grateful. The specificity is crucial. Do not be generic. A generic gratitude has a weak, muddled signal. Instead of saying, "I'm grateful for my home," which is lovely but vague, you will say, "I am so deeply grateful for the feeling of my favorite armchair supporting my body this evening." Instead of, "I'm grateful for my friends," you will say, "I am so grateful for the text message from Sarah today, for the way it made me laugh and feel connected." As you speak each specific gratitude, you will perform the second part of the ritual. You will actively summon the feeling of gratitude in your body. Let it swell in your chest. Let it soften your shoulders. Let it bring a smile to your face. The combination of the spoken word, a physical vibration, and the focused emotion, an energetic vibration, creates a powerful, coherent, and unambiguous signal. This is the signal you are sending out as your final act of the day. This nightly practice is a profound act of retuning. You are marinating your consciousness in the frequency of appreciation as you drift into the subconscious realm of sleep, influencing your dreams and the energetic state in which you awaken. You are also training your mind, specifically the filtering mechanism known as the reticular activating system, to hunt for things to be grateful for throughout the following day. You become a seeker of beauty, a hunter of grace, because you are actively looking for new material for your nightly broadcast. And as you consistently transmit this signal of gratitude, the law of resonance dictates that the universe must begin to send you more and more experiences that match this frequency. The mirror of your reality must reflect the grateful face you are presenting to it. You will begin to notice more kindness, more serendipity, more beauty, more support, not because the world has changed, but because you have changed your broadcast. You are a vibrational being living in a vibrational universe. You are a broadcasting tower, and your life is the printout of the signals you have been sending. The work of healing and creation is the work of becoming a conscious broadcaster. It is the art of deliberately, patiently, and lovingly choosing the thoughts you think, the emotions you cultivate, and the words you speak, so that the song you sing is one you truly wish to hear echoed back to you. This realization that the universe is a perfect resonance chamber makes the clarity of your signal of paramount importance. A muddled, fearful, or contradictory broadcast will only create a chaotic and unsatisfying reality. To become a master of your life, you must become a master of your language. You must learn to distinguish between the language that creates what you truly desire and the language that, often unconsciously, perpetuates the very lack you are trying to escape. You now stand as a conscious broadcaster in the great resonance chamber of the universe, aware that your inner state is constantly being mirrored back to you as your life experience. You have learned to tend to your inner monologue and to broadcast the high frequency of gratitude. With this understanding, the precision of your language becomes paramount. To create the life your soul desires, you must learn to speak the language of creation, not the language of lack. This is perhaps the most subtle, yet most powerful shift you will make on this entire journey. Most of us, when we pray, wish, or set goals, do so from a state of pain. Our language is focused on the problem we want to escape. We say, "I don't want to be in debt anymore." We plead, "Please, don't let me be sick." We yearn, "I'm so tired of being lonely." On the surface, these seem like positive desires, but let us look at them through the lens of vibration. The universe is not an intellectual being that analyzes the grammatical structure of your sentences. It is a field of energy that responds to the dominant frequency of your broadcast. In the phrase, "I don't want to be in debt," the most emotionally charged, dominant, and repeated word is debt. You are focusing on debt, feeling the constriction of debt, and therefore, you are broadcasting the frequency of debt, all while hoping for a result of abundance. You are singing the note of your problem and asking the cathedral to return the echo of the solution. It cannot. It can only return the echo of the note you are singing. This is the great flaw in our approach to creation. We stand with our backs to the destination we desire, staring intently at the place we are trying to leave, and we wonder why we are not moving forward. You must turn around. You must fix your gaze, your thoughts, and your words upon the reality you wish to inhabit, not the one you wish to escape. Imagine you are the captain of a ship sailing at night. Your destination is a distant lighthouse. The sea is filled with dangerous rocks. The language of lack is the language of a captain who stares only at the rocks. "I must avoid those rocks. Don't hit the rocks. The rocks are so dangerous." Where the captain's focus goes, the ship's rudder follows. By focusing on the rocks, they will inevitably steer the ship towards them. The wise captain, however, acknowledges the presence of the rocks but keeps their unwavering gaze fixed upon the lighthouse. Their entire being, their every command, is oriented toward the light. This is the language of creation. You must learn to speak of what you are calling in, not what you are pushing away. This requires a radical rescripting of your desires. Let us transform some common statements of lack into powerful statements of creation. The plea, "I hope I don't feel so anxious today," which is a prayer focused on anxiety, becomes the proclamation, "I am welcoming a state of peace and inner calm today. I am open to moments of ease and flow." The desperate cry, "I need to get out of this horrible job," becomes the creative intention, "I am grateful for the lessons this job has taught me, and I am now calling in a career that is aligned with my soul's purpose and joy." The lament, "I'm so tired of my body hurting," becomes the loving affirmation, "I am sending love and healing energy to my body. I am grateful for its wisdom, and I am supporting its journey back to vibrant health." At first, this new language may feel like a lie. If you are feeling sick, saying, "I am supporting my body's journey to vibrant health," can feel deeply inauthentic. This is the logical mind rebelling. But you are not denying your present circumstances. You are simply refusing to give them your creative power. You are an artist standing before a canvas. You would not describe your work by saying, "This is a painting about the absence of a beautiful landscape." You would say, "I am painting a beautiful landscape." You speak of the vision you are bringing into being. You must do the same with your life. You must stop describing the empty canvas of what you lack and start speaking the language of the masterpiece you are creating. You are aligning your energy not with where you are, but with where you are going. To make this tangible, you will now perform the rewording ritual. This is a sacred act of linguistic alchemy. Take a piece of paper and divide it into 2 columns. On the left, write language of lack. On the right, language of creation. In the left column, write down your goals, desires, and prayers exactly as they normally come to you. Be brutally honest. "I want to stop fighting with my partner. I'm afraid I'll never have enough money. I wish I could lose this weight. I don't want to be a failure." Now, you will become the magician. For each statement in the left column, you will transmute it into a statement of pure creation in the right column. Banish the weak and negative words, "don't," "not," "stop," "lose," "hope," "wish," "fear." These words vibrate with powerlessness. Replace them with words of active, present tense creation. Begin your new sentences with powerful declarations like, "I am in the process of becoming. I am joyfully welcoming. I am grateful for. I am creating." For example, "I want to stop fighting with my partner" becomes, "I am creating a relationship built on compassionate communication and mutual respect." "I'm afraid I'll never have enough money" becomes, "I am a conscious creator of abundance, and I am open to all channels of prosperity." "I wish I could lose this weight" becomes, "I am lovingly nurturing my body with healthy choices, and I enjoy watching it arrive at its perfect, natural state of well-being." This ritual is more than a word game. It is a fundamental shift in your identity. You are consciously moving from being a person defined by their problems to a person defined by their vision. You are no longer a victim of your circumstances. You are the visionary who is shaping them. This new language becomes a set of powerful instructions for your subconscious mind, which takes your "I am" statements as direct commands. It begins to alter your perceptions, your choices, and your behavior to align with your new, stated reality. You are literally programming yourself from the inside out for the life you desire. The universe does not respond to your begging, it responds to your being. The language of lack is the language of a beggar. The language of creation is the language of a sovereign. By mastering this new tongue, you are ensuring the signal you broadcast into the cosmic resonance chamber is clear, coherent, and powerful. You are now speaking the spells of a true creator. But even the most beautifully articulated spell the most powerful affirmation, is incomplete if it remains only as a thought or a word. The universe responds not only to the vibration of your words, but to the integrity of your entire being. The final step in becoming a truly masterful creator is to close the gap between the powerful reality you are speaking and the grounded reality you are living through your actions. Your words and your deeds must learn to dance together in perfect harmony. You have learned to speak the language of creation, to tune your inner and outer voice to the frequency of the reality you desire to call forth. You are learning the words of the master magician, the vibrational spells that instruct the universe. But even the most eloquent and powerful spell is mere smoke if it is not grounded in the soil of action. The final and most crucial step in harnessing your creative power is to close the gap between the world you speak of and the world you inhabit. Your words and your deeds must become one. This is the sacred practice of integrity. We often think of integrity as a moral quality, a measure of being a good person. But in the realm of energy and creation, integrity is a principle of physics. It means to be whole, to be integrated, to be unified. It is the state where your thoughts, your emotions, your words, and your actions are all aligned, all pointing in the same direction. When you are out of integrity, you create a state of profound, energetic chaos. If you declare, "I am becoming a person of peace and calm," but you continue to engage in angry gossip and anxious scrolling, you are sending two wildly contradictory signals into the resonance chamber of the universe. It is like trying to drive a car with one foot pressed firmly on the accelerator and the other slammed on the brake. You generate an immense amount of heat, noise, and friction, but you ultimately go nowhere. You burn through your precious life force in a state of self-imposed gridlock. This inner incongruence does more than just stall your progress. It erodes the most vital relationship you will ever have, the relationship you have with yourself. Every time you say you will do something and then fail to do it, you teach your own subconscious mind that your words are meaningless. You make a promise to yourself to wake up early to meditate, and then you hit the snooze button. You declare that you will eat healthier, and then you reach for the junk food. Each broken promise, no matter how small, is a tiny crack in the foundation of your self-trust. Over time, these cracks widen into a chasm. You cease to believe your own declarations, and this is the root of all self-sabotage. Why would your deeper self commit to a new path when it has learned from experience that you will likely abandon it at the first sign of discomfort? To become a powerful creator, you must first become a person whose word is law in the kingdom of your own being. When you live in a state of integrity, your words gain a new kind of gravity, a new kind of power. They are no longer just hopeful wishes. They become decrees. They are backed by the gold standard of your own proven follow-through. Imagine a king who issues proclamations that are never carried out by his subjects. Soon his words become empty, and he is a king in name only. Now imagine a king whose every word is instantly and faithfully executed. His decrees shape the reality of his realm. His voice has power. By cultivating integrity, you become this second ruler. You build what might be called a trust fund with the universe. When you speak your creative intentions, reality begins to listen more closely because it has learned that your word is bond. The internal conflict here is between the talker and the walker within you. The talker loves the feeling of making a grand declaration. It gets a rush from saying, "Starting tomorrow, I'm going to transform my life." It enjoys the fantasy of the new self. The walker, however, is the part of you that must actually get up in the cold morning, that must choose the difficult but healthy option, that must do the unglamorous, repetitive work of building a new reality. Our society often celebrates the talker, but all creative power resides with the walker. You must fall in love with the integrity of the process, not just the romance of the proclamation. So how do you bridge this chasm and rebuild your foundation of self-trust? You do not start by trying to build a great bridge. You start with a single, sturdy plank. You begin with the practice of the micro-promise. Your task is to make one incredibly small, almost laughably easy promise to yourself, and then keep it as if it were the most important vow you have ever made. This promise must be so manageable that there is virtually no chance of failure. For example, tonight before I get into bed, I will do 3 gentle stretches, or tomorrow morning, upon waking, I will drink 1 small glass of water before I drink my coffee. Or, today, I will take the stairs instead of the elevator just once. Choose your micro-promise now. Write it down if you need to, and then, when the appointed time comes, do it. Without drama, without negotiation, just do the thing you said you would do. After you have completed it, pause for a moment. Close your eyes and say to yourself, silently or aloud, I did what I said I would do. I keep my promises to myself. I am trustworthy. Feel the quiet, solid click of a single brick being laid perfectly into place in your foundation. It may feel small, but it is the most powerful work you can do. Each kept micro-promise is a quiet act of rebellion against your old patterns of self-abandonment. Each one tells your subconscious mind, things are different now. This person is reliable. As you practice this daily, your self-trust will begin to grow. The single brick becomes a row of bricks, then a wall, then a solid foundation upon which you can build anything. As your confidence in yourself grows, you can gradually increase the size of your promises. The 3 stretches become 10. The single glass of water becomes a consistent morning routine. You are training the muscle of integrity. The integrity you build with yourself is not a private matter. It becomes a palpable energy that you radiate. People will begin to feel your solidity. They will subconsciously register that you are a person whose words and reality are aligned. They will trust you more because they can sense that you trust yourself. Your words point the way, but it is your congruent action that paves the road into your new reality. Integrity is the unbreakable bridge that connects the world of your vision to the world you can touch. By closing the gap between what you say and what you do, beginning with the smallest, most sacred of promises, you move beyond mere wishing and into the realm of true creation. You become a focused lens, concentrating the diffuse light of your intention into a powerful beam that can shape your world. As you build this unshakable foundation of personal integrity, your voice itself begins to change. It develops a new weight, a new resonance. It is no longer just a tool for your personal healing and manifestation. It becomes a source of strength and stability that others can feel. Your voice, now backed by the undeniable truth of your actions, is ready to become more than a declaration of self. It is ready to become a bridge, with a foundation of personal integrity now firmly established beneath you. Your words have begun to take on a new substance, a new weight. They are no longer just sounds or wishes. They are expressions of a unified and trustworthy self. Your voice has power. Now, we arrive at a pivotal stage in this journey, where we ask the question, for what purpose will this new power be used? The evolution of the voice often moves through 2 distinct phases. The first is the phase of the wall. The second is the phase of the bridge. When we first reclaim our voice after years or decades of silence, its primary function is necessarily defensive. We learn to say number. We establish boundaries. We define our space. Our voice becomes a tool for building walls, for creating a fortress around a self that has for too long been trampled upon and invaded. We raise the drawbridge and patrol the ramparts. This is a crucial and non-negotiable stage of healing. It is the act of claiming your own sovereign territory. These walls are necessary. They are sacred. They allow the fragile, authentic self to finally have a safe space to emerge from hiding. But a fortress, while safe, is also a prison if you live within its walls forever. True strength is not found in permanent, fortified isolation. The ultimate purpose of building a strong fortress is to feel so secure within it that you eventually feel safe enough to open the gate. This is the evolution from the wall to the bridge. Once your sense of self is no longer fragile, once you know in your bones that you can protect your own space, your voice is freed for a higher purpose. It no longer needs to be primarily a weapon of defense. It can now become an instrument of connection. You can begin to lower the drawbridge, not out of weakness or obligation, but from a place of conscious, grounded strength. This bridge does not erase your boundaries or invite invasion. It is a carefully extended structure that allows for connection without sacrificing your sovereignty. Your voice becomes this bridge, capable of spanning the vast and lonely chasms that separate us from one another. What does a voice building a bridge sound like? It is a voice infused with a new kind of energy of generosity. It manifests in many forms. It is the voice of sincere acknowledgement. It is looking at a colleague who is struggling and saying, "I see how much effort you are putting into this. It's truly admirable." In that moment, you have built a bridge across the chasm of their invisibility, making them feel seen and valued. It is the voice of unattached praise. It is telling a friend, "The story you shared earlier was so vulnerable and powerful. Thank you for trusting me with it." With these words, you have built a bridge across the chasm of their self-doubt. It is the voice of shared vulnerability. This is perhaps the most powerful bridge of all. It is hearing someone struggle and, instead of offering advice, offering a piece of your own story. I remember feeling that exact same fear when I started my journey. You are not alone in this. In that instant, you build a magnificent bridge across the chasm of shame, letting them know that their experience is a shared part of the human condition. This evolution brings forth a new internal conflict. The part of you that fought so hard to build the fortress, the vigilant guard at the gate, is hesitant. It whispers, "Is this safe? I just finished building these walls. Why would I open the gate now? What if my vulnerability is mistaken for weakness? What if I lower the bridge and they send an army across?" This is the ego's legitimate concern for safety warring with the soul's expansive desire for connection and service. The soul knows that your strength was never meant to be hoarded within the fortress walls. It was meant to be the solid ground from which you could extend a hand to others. True power is not in vulnerability. It is the capacity to be open, to be generous, to be vulnerable, from a place of unshakable inner security. To practice this, you must become a conscious bridge builder. You must begin to look for opportunities to engage in acts of verbal generosity. Your mission is to find one small opportunity each day to use your voice not for your own needs, but purely for the sake of lifting another. This is not about flattery or seeking favor. The intention must be pure giving. It could be as simple as telling the person who makes your coffee, "You have such a wonderful energy. Thank you for starting my day with a smile." It could be sending a message to a family member, not to ask for anything, but simply to say, "I was just thinking about you and feeling so grateful to have you in my life." It could be witnessing someone's excitement about their passion and saying, "The way your face lights up when you talk about your art is incredible. Please keep going." Notice how this practice shifts your entire orientation to the world. You move from a defensive posture scanning the horizon for threats to a generative one, scanning the horizon for opportunities to connect and uplift. You begin to understand that your reclaimed voice is not just your personal property. It is a gift that you can now share. Your healing becomes a source of healing for others. You become a lighthouse. A lighthouse is built on a solid, immovable foundation that is your integrity, your self-trust. But its purpose is not to sit in the dark admiring its own foundation. Its purpose is to send a beam of light out across the dark and stormy waters, not to command the other ships, but to help them navigate their own journeys home. Your voice, when used as a bridge, is this beam of light. When you speak from this place, you are casting a new kind of vibrational spell, a spell of unity, of compassion, of shared humanity. You are telling the universe, "I am secure enough in myself that I can now be a source of security for others." And the resonance chamber of the universe will, in turn, bring you more and more opportunities for meaningful connection, more relationships built on the solid ground of authenticity and mutual support. This journey of finding your voice, which began as a solitary and inward path to save yourself, now reveals its ultimate purpose, to become an instrument of service and healing in the world. But this profound desire to build bridges, to connect rather than to conquer, requires one final, significant sacrifice from your ego. To truly be a bridge builder, you must be willing to let go of one of its most cherished and powerful possessions, one of its primary weapons in the old world of conflict. You must be willing to release your fierce, burning attachment to being right. You have committed yourself to the path of the bridge builder, choosing to use your voice not as a weapon of separation, but as an instrument of connection. You have learned to speak your truth with grace, to listen with an open soul, and to stand in the quiet power of your own integrity. But as you stand on your side of the chasm, ready to extend a bridge to another, you will find it is guarded by one of the ego's oldest and most powerful soldiers. This soldier's sole mission is to ensure that at all costs, in all encounters, you emerge victorious. Its name is the need to be right. This need is more than a simple preference. It is a primal, deeply ingrained survival instinct for the ego. In the ego's fragile kingdom, being wrong is equated with a kind of death. It feels like humiliation, a loss of status, a crack in the very foundation of your identity. And so, the moment a disagreement arises, the ego sounds the alarm. Your nervous system shifts into fight or flight. Adrenaline floods your body. Your breath becomes shallow, your jaw tightens. You are no longer in a conversation. You are in a battle for your very survival. Your words cease to be tools of connection and become weapons. You listen not to understand, but to find weaknesses, to gather ammunition, to formulate your next attack. Your goal is no longer to connect with the person before you, but to conquer them, to force them into submission, to compel them to admit that your view of reality is the correct one. This is the very antithesis of bridge building. It is the act of lobbing stones across the chasm, ensuring it remains impassable. Herein lies one of the most profound choices you will ever make. A choice that will present itself to you again and again, in moments large and small. You can choose to be right, or you can choose to be at peace. In the heat of conflict, you can almost never have both. The victory of being right offers a fleeting, hot, and addictive jolt of satisfaction to the ego. It is a sugar high, a momentary feeling of superiority that quickly fades, often leaving a bitter aftertaste of disconnection and resentment. Peace, however, is the deep, nourishing, and sustainable food of the soul. It is a state of inner harmony that strengthens you and your relationships over the long term. You must decide, in each moment, which nourishment you truly seek. The need to be right is a clenched fist. It is tense, rigid, and closed. It holds tightly to its arguments, its evidence, its grievances. It is ready to strike, to defend, to prove its point. To let go of this need is the conscious act of slowly, deliberately uncurling that fist. Let go of the stone you were about to throw. Open your hand. This is not an act of weakness or defeat. It is an expression of a far deeper and more formidable strength, a strength so confident in its own worth that it no longer needs to win small battles to feel secure. The clenched fist can only punch. The open hand can receive, it can offer, it can hold, it can heal. The ego will protest this with all its might. It will scream, "If I let go, it means they win. It means I am admitting that I am wrong." This is the ego's great misunderstanding. Letting go of your need to be right is not the same as saying that you are factually or morally wrong. It is a conscious, strategic choice to elevate a higher value above the petty victory of the argument. The higher value might be the health of the relationship. It might be your own inner tranquility. It might be the simple desire to restore a sense of loving connection. You can still hold your own truth, your own perspective, without demanding that the other person validate it. It is possible to say, from a place of great strength, I see this situation very differently than you do, but I am choosing to value our connection more than I value winning this argument. To practice this, you must learn to perform a conscious surrender in the heat of the moment. The first step is to recognize the heat. Become aware of the physical signs that your ego has entered the battlefield. Notice the tension in your shoulders, the rapid heartbeat, the aggressive forward lean of your body. This is your cue. The second step is to ask yourself the sacred question. Silently, in your own mind, ask, right now, in this moment, is it more important for me to be right or for me to be at peace? Choose consciously. The third step, if you choose peace, is to offer a verbal white flag. This is your act of surrender, not surrendering your truth, but surrendering the conflict. Use phrases that are designed to de-escalate, not to concede. Phrases like, that's a valid point, or I can see why you feel that way, or the incredibly powerful, you might be right. When you offer one of these phrases, observe what happens. It is like letting the air out of a dangerously overinflated balloon. The energy of the entire interaction shifts instantly. The other person's defenses, which were braced for your next attack, suddenly have nothing to push against. They often soften, their posture changes, their tone moderates. You have single-handedly ended the war by choosing to lay down your own weapon. You have learned to be like the river, one of the most powerful forces on earth. The river does not waste its immense energy trying to smash through every boulder in its path. It yields, it flows around the obstacle, and it continues on its inexorable journey to the sea. Its power is in its persistence and its graceful yielding, not in its brute force. By practicing this, you cultivate immense spiritual maturity. You unhook your sense of self-worth from the unstable practice of winning arguments. Your value becomes inherent, internal, and independent of anyone else's opinion or agreement. You find a new kind of freedom, the freedom from the exhausting, endless, and ultimately meaningless war of the ego. When you are no longer chained by this desperate need to be right, a new channel of communication naturally begins to open within you. It is a channel that was always present, but was hopelessly jammed by the loud, argumentative static of the mind's courtroom. Now, with the noise of the debate silenced, you can begin to hear a much quieter, subtler, and infinitely wiser voice. This is the voice of the heart. To learn to speak from this place is to learn the universal language, a language of pure feeling that transcends logic and creates a depth of connection that the mind can only dream of. You have laid down the heavy sword of your need to be right. You have willingly surrendered the ego's war in favor of the soul's peace. In the profound quiet that follows this surrender, a new space opens within you. The loud, argumentative courtroom of the mind has been adjourned, and now, for the first time, you can clearly hear a different voice. It is a voice that does not argue, that does not need to prove, that does not deal in the hard currency of facts and logic. It is a softer, warmer, and infinitely wiser voice. It is the voice of your heart. To learn to communicate from this place is to learn the universal language that lies beneath all others. For most of our lives, we are trained and rewarded for speaking the language of the head. It is the language of analysis, of strategy, of well-constructed arguments and witty remarks. It is a language designed to inform, to persuade, and to protect. With it, we build magnificent structures of thought. We navigate the complexities of our work, and we defend the fortress of our opinions. But this language, for all its utility, has a severe limitation. It can only ever connect one mind to another. It cannot connect one heart to another. We can talk about our feelings for hours, analyzing their origins and implications, without ever truly transmitting the raw, living energy of the feeling itself. It is the difference between reading a detailed description of a fire and actually feeling its warmth on your skin. The language of the head describes, the language of the heart transmits. The language of the heart is spoken not primarily through vocabulary, but through vibration. It is the energy, the feeling, the intention that you wrap around your words. A simple phrase like, "I'm here for you," when spoken from a distracted mind, is a polite but empty gesture. The same three words spoken from an open, present, and compassionate heart become a powerful healing balm. The listener doesn't just hear the words, they feel the transmission of safety, care, and unconditional presence. This is the heart's true tongue. It speaks in sincerity, in empathy, in the courageous willingness to be vulnerable. It does not hide behind cleverness or irony. Its power is in its naked, unadorned truth. To speak from the heart is to take the greatest risk in human connection. The head feels safe in its fortress of logic and emotional distance. To speak from that place is to send a well-armored soldier out for a parley. But to speak from the heart is to walk out onto the field yourself, with no armor, offering nothing but the truth of your own feeling. The fear is immense. What if my vulnerability is rejected? What if my sincere emotion is met with ridicule? What if I open my heart and they do not open theirs? This is the core conflict between the ego's desperate need for invulnerability and the soul's profound cellular yearning for genuine communion. The ego would rather be safe and alone in its fortress than risk the potential pain of a heart-to-heart connection. But your soul knows that a life lived entirely within that fortress is no life at all. It knows that the only moments that truly nourish us are those in which our heart connects with another. So how do you begin to speak this new, yet ancient language? You begin by shifting your center of gravity from your head to your chest. The practical action is the heart-centering breath. Before you enter a conversation of meaning, or in a moment of difficulty when you feel yourself retreating into the cold logic of your mind, perform this simple, sacred ritual. Place a hand gently over your heart center. The physical touch itself is a powerful anchor. Close your eyes, even for just a second, and take one slow, deep breath. Imagine your breath flowing not just into your lungs, but directly into this space beneath your hand. Imagine your heart as a soft, glowing light, and your breath is making it glow a little brighter. As you hold the breath for a moment at its peak, silently ask your heart a simple question. Not "what should I say?" but "what is true right now?" Not "Andy. How can I win this?" but "what does love wish to express through me?" Then, as you exhale, release the need to be perfect, clever, or articulate. Simply allow the words that follow to be carried on the current of feeling you have just connected with. Speak from that place of warmth and sincerity. The words themselves may be simple, but they will be imbued with a resonant power that no amount of intellectual brilliance can match. You are shifting from being a talking head to being an expressive soul. When you do this, you are speaking in a way that bypasses the other person's critical mind and communicates directly with their heart. They may not even be conscious of what is happening, but they will feel a shift in the room. They will feel your authenticity. They will feel your presence. They will feel safe. This practice is a way of trusting a deeper, more holistic intelligence that resides within you. The mind's intelligence is linear. It operates on logic and past experience. The heart's intelligence is spherical. It operates on empathy, intuition, and an understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. By learning to listen to and speak from your heart, you are learning to trust this deeper wisdom as your primary guide. You are learning to navigate your life not just with the map of your mind, but with the unerring compass of your heart. When you begin to communicate consistently from this place, a beautiful and humbling realization will dawn. You will discover that the emotions you once thought were uniquely and privately yours, your secret sorrows, your hidden joys, your deepest longings are, in fact, the universal feelings of humanity. The language of your heart is understood by others because, at the deepest level, it is also the language of their own heart. You begin to see that your personal story is a unique expression of a universal story, and in that moment, the illusion of your separateness begins to dissolve. You realize that your voice is not a solitary instrument playing a lonely tune in a vacuum. It is one voice in a vast and magnificent choir, one essential note in the grand unfolding symphony of existence. As you learn to speak the universal language of the heart, a profound and beautiful mystery begins to unfold. You start to realize that the stories you believed were yours alone, the secret chambers of your pain and the hidden gardens of your joy, are not so private after all. The specific details are yours, but the emotional essence, the longing, the fear, the grief, the rapturize, the shared currency of all humanity. In speaking your most personal truth, you discover you are speaking a universal one. The illusion of your separateness begins to dissolve like mist in the morning sun. You come to the humbling and awe-inspiring realization that your voice is not a solitary instrument playing in a vacuum. It is, and always has been, one essential instrument in the grand, complex, and magnificent symphony of existence. For most of our lives, we experience ourselves as lonely soloists. We feel as though we are on a vast, dark stage, playing our own sad or anxious tune, convinced that no one else can truly hear or understand it. This sense of being separate is the root of our deepest suffering. We believe our pain is a unique affliction, that our shame is a singular stain, that our struggles are a private burden we must bear in isolation. This belief makes the weight of our lives feel infinitely heavier than it truly is. But the work you have done of finding your voice, tuning it to the frequency of your heart, and backing it with the integrity of your actions changes everything. When your instrument is finally in tune with your authentic self, you suddenly develop the capacity to hear the music that has been playing around you all along. You realize you were never on a solitary stage. You have been sitting in the middle of a cosmic orchestra since the moment you were born. And your unique voice, with its specific timbre of sorrow and its particular vibrato of joy, is not better or worse than any other. It is simply your part. The great symphony of life would be incomplete without the mournful, resonant note of your cello. It would be lacking without the bright, hopeful trill of your flute. Your sound, once you have the courage to produce it authentically, is utterly essential to the beauty and complexity of the whole. Consider the universe as a great, infinite tapestry, being constantly woven. Your life is a single thread. For a long time, you could only see your own small section of thread, and perhaps it seemed tangled, frayed, or insignificant. But from the perspective of the great weaver, your thread, with its unique color and texture, is absolutely essential to the integrity and beauty of the overall pattern. To withhold your thread, to silence your voice out of fear or shame, is to leave a hole in this sacred work. To sound your note, to allow your thread to be woven in, is your primary purpose. And here is where your personal journey of healing becomes an act of universal service. When you dare to sound your authentic note, you do something miraculous for those around you who are still playing in silence. Your voice becomes their permission slip. Your courage becomes their catalyst. When you stand up and say, "I was lost in the darkness of anxiety, and I am finding my way back to the light," you hang a lantern on the path for someone who is still lost in that same darkness. When you share, "I was shattered by grief, and I am learning to piece my heart back together," you give hope to another whose heart lies in pieces at their feet. When you admit, "I often feel like I am not enough," you liberate someone else from the prison of their own perceived inadequacy. Your vulnerability is not a weakness, it is a beacon. Your story, once you claim it, is no longer just your story. It becomes medicine for the world. This is the sacred responsibility that comes with your reclaimed voice. It is no longer a tool just for getting your own needs met. It is now an instrument of service. This calls for a new kind of practice, an act we will call the offering. This is the act of consciously sharing a piece of your journey, not for attention, validation, or praise, but as a simple gift to the collective. The intention is not, "Look at me and how far I've come." The intention is, "Perhaps the story of my path can illuminate yours." This offering can take many forms. It may be a heartfelt conversation with a friend where you choose to share a past struggle to help them feel less alone in their current one. It may be writing down your story and sharing it on a blog or social media platform, releasing it without any attachment to the outcome. It may be leaving a thoughtful, genuine comment on another person's creative work, acknowledging their courage and telling them how it impacted you. It may simply be a commitment to live more openly, to answer the question, "How are you?" with a little more truth, allowing the people in your daily life to see the real, imperfect, healing human being you are. The form is irrelevant. The intention is everything. You are leaving a small trail of breadcrumbs for those who walk behind you. This act of offering completes the sacred circle of healing. The journey that began as a desperate inward spiral to save yourself now flows outward as a generous act of grace. In the process, your own healing is solidified and deepened. The lessons become integrated. The pain of your past is redeemed, for you can now see how it was forged into the medicine you now have to offer. You are no longer just the protagonist of your story. You have become its wise and compassionate steward, using it with care for the betterment of all. You understand that you are not an island. You are a star in a grand constellation, a single tree in a vast forest, a musician in an orchestra. And so, you find your place. You are no longer the frightened, silent audience member, nor the lonely, misunderstood soloist. You are an integral, participating musician in the symphony of being. You know the unique sound of your instrument, you know its power, and you know how it harmonizes with the whole. And from this place of profound and peaceful belonging, you can finally return to silence. But this is a silence of an entirely new quality. It is not the silence of fear and repression that you knew at the beginning of this journey. It is the silence of fullness, of peace, of knowing that your part is essential, whether you are playing it loudly and passionately, or resting quietly and attentively between the notes. And so, you have found your note in the great symphony of existence. You have felt the profound connection that comes from speaking the language of the heart and realizing your story is woven into the fabric of a universal human tapestry. You have played your instrument with courage and integrity, and now, the conductor lowers the baton. The final, resonant chord fades into the vastness of the hall, and what remains is silence. Here we are, at the end of this long journey, returning to the very place we started. But everything is different now. The silence that greets you today bears no resemblance to the one in which you were once trapped. That old silence was a prison. This new silence is a throne. Let us remember the silence you first knew. It was a heavy, suffocating blanket. It was not an absence of sound, but the deafening noise of unspoken words, of swallowed truths, of unheard screams. It was the silence of fear, the silence of repression, the silence of a self so terrified of its own voice that it chose to live in a cage of not speaking. It was a cold, haunted space, populated by the echoes of past pains. That silence was a state of lack. It was the absence of you. The silence you now inhabit is of an entirely different quality. It is a silence of fullness. It is the quiet, expansive peace that follows a storm when the air is clean and the sky is clear. It is the deep, tranquil stillness of a lake whose waters have finally settled, able to perfectly reflect the truth of the heavens. It is the resonant hum in a great hall after the symphony has ended, a silence that is not empty, but is vibrating with the memory of the beautiful music that was just played. This is not the silence of repression, but the silence of integration. There are no more words screaming to be said. There is no more truth clawing to get out. You have met your ghosts. You have spoken your heart. You have done the work. The silence that remains is peace. The most profound transformation is in your relationship with it. You are no longer afraid of silence because you have absolute bone-deep trust in your ability to break it. You have discovered your voice. You have honed it, strengthened it, and learn to use it with both power and grace. You know, with unshakable certainty, that you can speak whenever you choose. Therefore, silence is no longer a cage in which you are trapped. It is a sanctuary into which you can voluntarily retreat. It is not your master, it is your ally. This is the ultimate freedom. The freedom to speak and the freedom to be silent. Both are now equal and available choices, wielded by a conscious and sovereign self. From this new vantage point, your practice changes. It is no longer about the striving and struggle of finding your voice. It is now about the art of consciously choosing and cherishing stillness. Your new task is to become a connoisseur of this sacred silence, to seek it out not as an escape from the world, but as a deeper way to inhabit your own being in the present moment. This is the practice of the cherishing of stillness. I invite you to find moments in your day to consciously choose silence over noise. When you watch a beautiful sunset, resist the urge to capture it, to filter it, to post it. Simply allow it to be a secret communion between you and the cosmos. Let its beauty wash over you, undocumented, unshared, and therefore entirely yours. When you drink your morning tea or coffee, do it in silence. Put down your phone, turn off the news. For just those 5 minutes, do nothing but experience the warmth of the mug in your hands, the aroma, the taste on your tongue. Be in silent communion with the simple, profound act of nourishing yourself. Take a walk in nature and leave your music and podcasts behind. Listen, not just with your ears, but with your entire sensory being. Listen to the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a bird, the sound of your own footsteps on the earth. Feel the air on your skin. This is the symphony that is always playing, the one we so often drown out. Choose to drive in your car without the radio on, allowing your thoughts to settle and your mind to rest. In these chosen pockets of silence, you are not being unproductive. You are engaging in the most productive activity of all. You are coming home to yourself. This new silence is the space where all true wisdom arises. It is in the quiet moments that the lessons of your life integrate themselves into your being. It is in the stillness that your intuition speaks most clearly. This silence is the source from which your future words will draw their power. You retreat into it to rest, to recharge, to ground yourself, to listen for the next right note to play in your life's symphony. It is your harbor, your sanctuary, your charging station. And so, the great circle completes. The journey that began in a terrified silence ends in a powerful one. You have walked through the cacophony of your own inner world. You have learned the music of your soul, and you have returned to the stillness from which all sound is born. But the place is not the same, for you are not the same. You are no longer a prisoner of silence. You have become a master of it, a friend to it. Rest here. In this quiet, this full, this potent and peaceful space, you have walked a long road to get here. This is the peace that passes all understanding, for it is the profound peace of a self that has, at long last, truly and completely come home. And so we rest here, in this new silence, a silence born not of fear, but of fulfillment. Let us cast our awareness back for a moment to the beginning of this journey. Your inner world was once a vast desert, and your silence was the parched, cracked earth, seemingly barren and lifeless. You were taught to look to the sky for rain, to wait for a savior, for a sign, for a voice to come from the outside. But this path led you inward. It taught you to listen not to the empty wind, but to the ground beneath your feet. And as you listened, you heard a faint, deep murmur, a vibration that spoke of life hidden far below the surface. With the tools of courage and self-compassion, you began to dig. You dug through the hard-packed earth of your fears. You chiseled through the bedrock of your conditioning. You cleared away the rubble of other people's opinions and the fossils of old pain. And then, after great and patient effort, you broke through. You found the source. A great, clear, underground river of truth that was flowing within you all along. Your voice is this river. Your authentic voice is the life-giving water that now flows through the desert of your being. It nourishes the dry earth. It makes the seeds of your potential, which have lain dormant for so long, finally sprout and bloom with vibrant life. Your voice, flowing with integrity and heart, transforms the landscape of your life. Do not believe that this is the end. Healing is not a destination at which you arrive. It is the river itself. It is the continuous, sacred flow. There will still be seasons of drought and seasons of flood, but you will no longer be the one who is thirsting in the desert, desperately searching for a voice. You have become the source. You have become the river. You are the one who heals. The stories of your past are written in sand, easily smoothed away by the gentle hand of self-compassion. But the story of your future, the most sacred story of all, is the one you are now choosing, moment by moment, to speak into existence. Your voice is the point of creation. Your word is the beginning. Speak,